Recording in progress.
Okay. Everybody ready?
I'm standing, I'm ready.
That's right. Good evening and welcome to the September 20th, 2022 Federal Way City Council meeting. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome everyone. It's great to see everybody. Okay, so we've got, we'll go right into it. We've got a busy evening, so let's get go ahead and get started. Mayor's emerging issues and report. Recent events, we had the South King Fire 911 Memorial on September 11th, and Chief Wong spoke at that. We had the King County Regional Library Science and Technology Makerspace opening on last Saturday, the 17th. That was great. It was a great community event. Upcoming events, we've got the Mayor's Day of Concern, the annual food drive, Saturday, September 24th. That's this coming Saturday. We've got follow-up regarding police report. John Hutton, we had a resident in town, a business owner, who was concerned about whether a police report had been filed on stolen property. Can you give us a report on that?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. Yes, a police report was indeed filed. We took a couple of days to make sure during the inventory that we didn't miss anything that may have come up stolen within that break-in, and a police report was indeed filed, and I have a case number and everything, so and hopefully we'll get some traction on that. They stole two gas-powered Honda pumps valued at about between $800 and $900.
Wow. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Okay, public comment. Now I've got, we've got the regular public comment, and we've got one on the public hearing. So if you signed up for public hearing, you're not going to be in this first one, but I'll call those. And we've got on the public hearing, excuse me, let's see here, public comment in person. Actually, on the public comment, I don't see anybody remote. Yeah, okay, so it's only with the hearing. Oh, thank you very much. I would also note that Lydia is attending, Councilmember Lydia Safa-Dawson is attending remotely. She's at a conference out of town. Welcome, Councilmember.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Now, and then on the remote public hearing, we had Bowell and Mo Mahuchi. And when we get done with the in-person, we'll call those individuals for remote when we get to that part of the agenda. Okay, I'll go ahead. Remember, the council changed the rules that we just ask you generally to say what city you live in, and we don't need your address and all that. Now, green means go, yellow means you've got about 30 seconds, red means please stop, please wrap up. I hate to interrupt people. Okay, so I'll call a couple people, if you could sort of queue up, generally back there, and then we can kind of do this. So I'll call the first few. First, we've got Alex Milston, then Ann Michelle Hart, and then Stuart Austin, and then Anna Patrick. Go ahead, Alex.
My name is Alex, and I'm a resident of Federal Way. Currently, the world, especially the United States, is staring down a period of economic hardship. The ways that Federal Way could mitigate that hardship for our residents are many and complex. One of these ways is worker cooperatives, or employee-owned businesses. As the name suggests, these are companies that, in part or in whole, are owned by their employees, and they have numerous economic and social benefits. The economic benefits are that worker cooperatives are more stable, more productive, and more resilient to economic hardship. According to a study conducted by the BC Alberta Social Economic Research Alliance, worker cooperatives had a 66% 5-year survival rate, compared to just 39 to 43% for traditionally run firms, which was nearly identical to findings from a Quebec study that found a 64% five-year survival rate for worker co-ops. As for their productivity, a meta-analysis on the productivity of worker cooperatives by Professor Chris Dokalagos shows that there is a small but statistically significant increase in productivity in worker co-ops compared to traditionally run firms. As for the greatest economic strength of worker co-ops, their resilience during hardship, a report by the CICOPA Europe shows that during the 2008 financial crisis, only 12.9% of worker co-ops had to do layoffs, while 68.3% maintained the number of employees, and 18% were even able to increase the number of employees, which is significantly better than how traditionally run firms did during 2008, even in Italy. These great economic benefits aren't limited to small businesses either. The Mondragon Corporation, one of the largest companies in Spain, which employs over 81,000 people and generates over 12 billion euros of revenue a year, is a worker co-op. As for the social benefits of worker cooperatives, a study by the Economics and Econometrics Institute found that in Italy, employees in worker co-ops generally trusted their co-workers and got along with them a lot more than employees in traditionally run firms did with theirs. And trust is extremely important in a community, which we all need. During these times of extreme uncertainty, we need stability and community. I believe that worker co-ops would be a great step in this direction. Doing actions such as raising awareness of this business model, financially incentivizing businesses to convert towards worker cooperatives, and helping the creation of new worker co-ops would do a lot to help the city, both with its economy and its community. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. And Michelle Hart.
Council, Mayor, citizens, I'm Ann Michelle Hart with the Public Market. I'd like to tell you that we took a road trip down to Oregon this past weekend, and I went to the Troutdale Station, and then we went to the 5th Street Market in Eugene, Oregon. I want to tell you a little bit about what we found there. The Troutdale Station was full of fun and games, so there is proof that if you have people from different cultures, if you invite them to play games, they will play with each other, and they learn more about each other, and they have fun doing it. So we found that a model that we think that will work here. We need more fun in Federal Way. When we went down to the 5th Street Market in Eugene, they started small and they grew big, just like the Pike Market did. And Mr. Obi was very intentional about telling us to not think too big, start small, and then grow as you support yourself. They were intentional down to the smallest detail. When we walked around Friday, we kept saying, oh, they did that? And by Saturday, we were saying, of course they did. So things like the drains in the new part of the market all had iron designs in them. Well, of course they did. When we walked into the hotel and we walked into the elevator, the backside of the elevator opened and the office staff or the kitchen staff walked into the back. Of course they did. Who wants those boxes run through the middle of the hotel? When I asked for a bottle of water at the bar, they said they didn't have any to sell, but I could ask the concierge desk, which they promptly gave me a free bottle. Who does that? They said they do that for everybody. They have something for everybody down there, which is exactly what we want. They learn that statistics matter, so as they're looking at businesses, they have everybody report, the bigger businesses and the smaller businesses, and if they don't match the report that they have said that they will meet, they are given a warning to bring it up, and if they don't bring it up, they move out and they allow somebody else to come in. They support hatchling businesses, but they allow them to own their own success. The other thing that we talked about down there is developing our TC3 up here. And as we were thinking about it, we thought, it doesn't make any sense to piece that out, and we talked to Mr. Obi about that. This product that we're trying to do in TC3 is unique. It's not like redeveloping a strip mall. He suggested that instead of piecemealing it out, you bid all of the property out for synergy and for holistic, and to build a downtown core out of the whole property. If there are no takers, which he thinks of 4 developers he knows would probably bid on it, including him, if you don't get a taker on that, then start bidding it out and piece it out. And I think I will close there, so I would urge you to do the TC3 as a whole and bid it out altogether. Thank you.
Thank you. Stuart Austin, Commander.
Thank you very much. I am a Federal Way resident. I am a representative of the VFW Post 2886 in Federal Way. And yes, there is a VFW in Federal Way. It's an ongoing joke through here. We're here, I'm here to represent my post, and I represent the veterans that live in this area. And we have a program in our VFW that helps with celebrating not only what the veterans do here, is our police department, fire department, EMTs, and all first responders. When they're picked as police officer of the year, EMT of the year, we would like to have those people contact us, or the fire department's police department themselves contact us so we can properly award them also. We have a program that during our midwinter conference, we would send them to the conference and give them a meal, and we do present them a plaque of a thank you for their service in their area. And we do that yearly. Unfortunately, Federal Way has not been able to submit any nominees or any persons that have won since we've been at this area. We've been having a lot of difficulty with the police department, with their understanding that they don't want the information leaked out or brought out before the officer's been told. And that's not our deal. We would like to have them, as soon as they're awarded through the police department, fire department, and all that they call us and state, this is our winner, this is who we are selecting, and then we can make the proper arrangements to get them submitted into Department of Washington so they can then send it to national, which is in Washington, D.C. Once they're selected, like I said, then we are presenting them a plaque during our conference, and so they know that we are also in thanking them. A lot of those officers and fire department people, if you asked them, they did serve in certain areas of the military, and they done their 4 years and opted out or they kept in. That's also an accomplishment that we would like to them, to receive that also. Our gratitude to their work and their dedication to the Federal Way area. And if we could help each other out with that, I think that would be awesome for the people that work here. Morale boosters. I think they would choose to stay here and work here because they know they get their notoriety, to get recognized, and not just another person that works the streets. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commander. Thank you for your service. Anna Patrick.
Good evening, everyone. I am a resident of Federal Way, and I'm just going to share a few things. This past week, Joanne Fabrics was robbed, and the people that work there are visibly very scared in the evening hours. And a lot of the businesses are closing it earlier, like 7 o'clock, which is revenue loss. And the pet store nearby, I can't remember if it's Petco or PetSmart, they had some people in the store milling around right before closing, jammed the door shut, threatened the people inside the store that were working there, saying that they were going to either tase them if they didn't open the door, but the door was jammed by the people that had the shopping cart. They were told by the people that were doing this that you can't touch me, you can't do anything. So people are emboldened. It's scary out there. It's a hard time to have kids working in our city. We want our kids working. We want them being productive. We want them independent. It's hard to tell them you can't drive the car, you're taking the bus when you need to do that. Things like this, when you see the drug addicts sitting around the bus stops, which I've been seeing a lot on social media as well. This is just completely unacceptable. It's not equitable to our city. We are bearing more burden here in Federal Way and South King County because of King County's laws. It's unacceptable. With that said, there's things that we have to do as a city. I am asking that our city consider ARPA funds to support businesses somehow. Please partner with businesses like Joanne's. Reach out. Corporate's not going to reach out to our city. The people that work there are desperate to have something done. We need our city to reach out to corporate. We need our city to partner. We need our city to fund some of this. We hear all the time, it's because of the pandemic. So let's do something with those funds to help our businesses that are going to shut their doors if we don't do something. We need to advocate for extra metro enforcement. It's part of Dow's budget, I've seen. I guess he's going to have more enforcement. I'm not sure what that's going to look like. But we need more of it here in South King County. We need to advocate for that. We need to be the voice for that. We can't just sit back and wait for it to happen. Also, for everybody, if you see something, say something, please call 911, even if you think the police are too busy or can't respond, can't arrest, can't do anything. It's the only record that we're going to have of the crime and activity that we have going on sometimes. So we have to keep reporting, and if you see shopping carts in the parking lots, grab them, park them, try to be proactive, and please consider labeling the carts. Let's just start there. Label the carts so King County can enforce not having them go on the buses. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Anna. And we will follow up with those two businesses, Joanne's Fabrics and the Petco. Yeah, thank you. Nancy Justice.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I was disappointed at last week's Parks, Recreation, Human Services, and Public Safety Committee meeting. I was disappointed listening to Brian Davis trying to give reason as to why the ordinance outlined was not a good idea. One of the reasons was because we already have an ordinance in place. Anyone can look around the city at any given time and see this is clearly not the case. Shopping carts are the must-have accessory for the addicts to have their sideshow move from one place to another. And this is done at the expense of our businesses who are already struggling, also at the expense of the tax-paying citizens who wish to see a cleaner federal way. The committee members who took their time to craft the proposed ordinance would not have done so if there wasn't a need to do better. Some friends and I in the last week encountered two shopping carts packed high and low with suitcases, plastic bins, and loose items. Walmart and Safeway, I think, were the carts. This was in the city core in the daytime. There was lots of traffic, and they were there for quite some time, and we never saw anyone near. After walking away disgusted that our city allows this, we sought advice from a legal perspective to determine if returning the carts to the store could any way be illegal. I have some very thoughtful and smart friends that I discussed this with. I probably would have done it sooner, but at this point I had to laugh at how ludicrous it was that we had to debate the legality of stealing a stolen cart. Those who were in possession may not have stole it, but anybody who can read knows where these carts belong. We did not take any belongings. We put loose items in clean plastic bags, left them out of the right-of-way, right where we found them, returned the carts back to where they belong. If the city did this on a regular basis, I bet it wouldn't take long for word to get out. It's not a good way to travel. It's not okay in federal way. This past summer, as a social experiment, I walked into town in broad daylight and grabbed a stack of 3 brand new carts. I couldn't push anymore. I walked out of town, I walked home, and nobody said a word, but some officers did wave at me and I waved back. I laughed. I mean, it was funny. It was kind of thrilling. I felt like I was getting away with something, but I wasn't. And of course, I did return these carts to the store that they belonged. And the point being, how many carts does a person have to steal to be penalized? don't allow the law to benefit the lawless. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Jeffrey Tancredi, and then after Jeffrey, Susan Strong, and then Karen Brugado, and then Ken Blevins.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Thank you for letting me speak. Jeff Tancredi, Federal Way resident. Yes, just on the cart issue, just to echo, driving around town all the time, it's something you see all the time. These individuals, they're dehydrated. They're not getting nutrition. They're not getting medical help. So aside from everything that Nancy and everybody else has said, which is absolutely true, these people it's like a slow death. And then we got some officials in Olympia that want to give them legalized drugs that slowly kill them or make them addicted to it. So, I mean, it seems like we're just living in an upside down world. Let's tell them, code enforcement or somebody tell these individuals, hey, we're not going to accuse you of stealing this, but it's not yours. We're going to take it back from you. You didn't steal it, okay? If we have to go woke, if we have to go that way, you didn't steal it, okay? We're not accusing you of stealing it, but it's not yours. You didn't purchase it. So we're taking it back, and we'll give you a plastic bag to put your belongings in that are probably not even yours, that you did not earn, that you did not work to earn a paycheck to buy those things. So, I mean, we're just kind of living in an upside-down world where you can steal, and we all know, we discussed that theft is a crime involving moral turpitude, and I'm not even an attorney, okay? It's a CIMT, it's a theft, okay? It's against the RCW and probably federal statutes, but yet we let it go on. So I'm going to do my level best to knock on as many doors as I can to change the legislature. I'm going to do everything in my power, and I ask everyone, if you can, to knock on as many doors. That is the only way we're going to change this state, okay? The only way is to, hi, I'm Jeff Tancredi. I'm from Stand Up Federal Way. We're a volunteer group. We're concerned about the rise in crime and how it's impacting all of us here in Federal Way. And as a result of that, we're backing candidates who view public safety as a high priority. How difficult is that?
Thank you, Jeffrey. All right, Susan Strong.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, I'm Susan Strong. I've lived in Federal Way over 40 years, formerly of Seattle. Shopping carts are taken by the homeless to move their possessions around town. Possession of a shopping cart off of the store property needs to be treated as a theft. There must be penalties for stealing a shopping cart. Without penalties, the stealing will continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Karen Brugado.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm Karen Brugado, a 30-year resident and a member of the Federal Way Arts Commission. And I want to welcome you. The Arts Commission's Arts Alive is open. You might recognize back behind your council that it is not there. It is at the PAEC. The artwork is hung. It is marvelous. We've had it judged and a winner. I do have some homework for you. There probably will be a council choice as well, so if you could ever get down there and look at the art and choose which one, that would be great. There's a people's choice as well. The Arts Alive will be repeated in January. And then, of course, we have our Arts Alive weekend, which will be stupendous. It'll be great to have that for the entire weekend. I am speaking with the Korean American Arts Association of Washington for their participation, the El Centro de la Raza for their participation. Did you know there are 10 tattoo parlors in Federal Way? I didn't know this, but tattoos are art. They're included too. So this will be an all-inclusive, intergenerational display of art in Federal Way, June 2nd through 4th, and I'm looking forward to talking to you about the budgeting for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. All right, Ken
I'm
Blevins.
sorry, Karen, I'm sorry, did she say June 2nd through 4th?
Yes, June 2nd through 4th.
Okay.
June?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ken Blevins.
City Council, Mayor, thanks for listening to me. I'm a Federal Way citizen. I've lived here for 50 years, my entire life. And to be honest, I'm a little embarrassed by this body right here. So I talked to the mayor today, and as much as he was nice and very political and so on, he had told me that he's blocking the cart deal because he doesn't want to take officers away from fighting one crime for another. And I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think you even know how many carts there are out there, especially the one that had like your signs all over it the other day. That's sitting on it. Someone stole those signs. That's actually, I think, a federal crime that happened. So that we're just letting happen right in the middle of Federal Way. It's kind of embarrassing that we don't do stuff about this. But when it comes down to it, it's not just only the crime of stealing the cart. We can't prove that they stole it, but we can prove that they have, in the law, and it actually allows for this, that they have possession of a stolen cart. And they're actually keeping it from the store because they have their stuff in it and they're walking the opposite direction. They're actually moving it or just have it. So that is actually possession in the law. So we don't need any more than that. We never need to say that it belongs to this and that it's a big red Target cart. Not theirs, Target's. It is a green cart that could be to like 2 or 3 stores. We had somebody ticketed, Kimmy. She's a homeless drug addict. She's been struggling for many years, and she ended up in court. Nobody blocked it, so our city attorneys didn't have to like, oh my gosh, this isn't possession. We have to look at the law. There's no way. No, she went to court, and now she's actually going through steps to be able to stay clean and so on. She's getting some help. She's getting services. So us doing nothing is actually not helping these people out. It's encouraging them to be out there. It's allowing them to be out there, and all of us have to suffer for it. So if you can actually stop the cart movement, you're not taking it away from just a homeless person. It's a drug addict that's stuck on the streets and have nowhere else to go. So please, Mayor, please stop making excuses. The police want something to be able to do. Their hands are tied on a lot of things. If we can give them something to work on, there's probably maybe 30 carts out there. How long would it take to do it? Just like these other guys took a cart, I went up to a guy and said, I got to take this cart back to Target. He goes, okay, took his stuff out, and I brought it back to Target. How hard is that? And we don't have to have code enforcement, like Brian said, do this thing. We have to hire all these people and have this budget change or whatever. We have 3 parks people that work on this on a daily basis. They have other things to do, yes. But how many carts is it going to be? A police officer goes there and says, hey, we're going to give you a warning. We're going to take this cart from you, put this stuff in the bag so we don't take your bags. There's no cost to this. The cost is our safety. The retailers having to deal with this stuff, the workers at this retail stores, they have to deal with these people going out there and making it very uncomfortable for them just to work. Mostly children or teenagers that are just trying to go to a job to make a little bit extra money. Let's do something about this. Don't say we're going to do something in December. Don't block public safety. Please do something about it. It's not just carts. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken, and thanks for your call yesterday. And I actually shared the contents of our conversation yesterday with the council, and they're ultimately the policy body. So, we'll continue to talk, and I think the council is amenable to some middle ground here and making sure we address these issues. Part of it, just for folks to know, and I'm not going to monopolize the conversation. I hear the concerns here. There's one of the considerations, or at least some of the considerations, are we want to make sure that we don't have an officer in the middle of a cart investigation when we've got a robbery like at the fabric location or any kind of robbery, burglary, domestic violence. When 911 is called, we want an officer to arrive, and we want to make sure our response times are low for serious crimes. There also is an issue with regard to removal. I would be very careful about getting your hands in a bag and removing things because you can get stuck with a needle. And so there are some factors, but we're going to continue the discussion about it. Council President Kochmar?
Mayor, I know that we're going to continue the discussion. I know that Chair Parks will be continuing the discussion, but 2 questions I have right now. One of which is, can we use ARPA funds to hire somebody to retrieve these carts?
That are currently possessed by, ultimately you have to.
We need to hire somebody to retrieve the carts if they are marked as, and we can determine that they're stolen.
We do have a cart retrieval program. What we're talking about is separating an individual who is in possession of a cart.
But does that have to be a police officer?
I think it is, right. I think you've got to really think about, there are some just real life like real-time consequences of coming into contact that is somebody with a grocery
So
cart, like
we
mental
need to
health
discuss
issues.
this
and-
further.
Yeah, yeah, so, but we'll continue to discuss it. I understand where the sensitivity is, so thank you. And thank you. Councilmember Walsh, did you want to say anything on this? I know you've done a lot of work on this.
I was going to wait till our committee report, but I wasn't very pleased with how things went with the Parks Committee meeting. And I think that with this next Parks Committee meeting will be on October 11th. And at that time, we are going to, I understand that there's really not staffing to put together something officially till after the first of the year. I believe with this next Parks Committee meeting, we are going to draft something something to bring to the council. And then if it needs to be revised later on, when there's time for staff, it can be revised later on. But get something before the council ASAP, especially right now with Metro going to be allowing carts on the buses. That's going to aggravate things all the more. And so we need to get ahead of that. And so, this next Parks Committee meeting, we will take some action to present to the full council for consideration.
All right. Brian, anything to add on that, any of this? Okay, great. All right, thank you very much.
Mayor, if I could add,
Yeah,
I just want to make it clear, a majority of council can direct me to draft an ordinance. So there's no need for council members to draft an ordinance yourself. You can take a vote and direct us to do so. And we'll-
I believe that in our council meeting, the one before last, we asked we asked staff to put an ordinance together for us, and it was decided it was just going to be an item of discussion. That's what staff came back to us, saying it'll be an item of discussion. So I think that there's already a majority of the council that wants an ordinance drafted.
all right, thank you. Councilmember Dovey?
I mean, since we're commenting on public comment, which is not something we normally do, but I will jump in. I believe that Councilmember Walsh brought something to the committee for the staff to draft so we can vote on it. And I would think that we want to see that so we can vote this up or down sooner than later.
Okay, all right, council, we work for you. You guys are the policy board.
And we absolutely do. So
Yeah.
if at some point someone could bring a motion at a council meeting and direct staff by vote to draft an ordinance, then we'll take action. Or the mayor can direct it.
Actually, I hear that, I hear it, so I don't think that's necessary.
Okay.
I'll talk to, let's work on this, Brian and Ryan, let's work on this. I hear what you're saying, let's get it before the council, we'll draft something up for you. Okay?
All right. Well, when can we expect something to be ready to come before the council?
How about we'll talk about it? I'm not sure what you want in it yet. So I unfortunately was not able to attend the Parks Committee. So I'm not sure if everything that you're proposing in there is lawful. If it's a straightforward just drafting exercise, that's not hard. We can do that probably before the next council meeting.
Let's do this, will you reach out to,
Yeah, I think we should talk offline.
Councilmember tomorrow?
Okay.
Great, okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right,
Can I ask a question?
yes, Councilmember Seffa Dawson, yes.
It's on decision. So at the last meeting, we decided to maybe create an ad hoc committee to look at it. So are we not going to do that? And if so, I think we need to state it here so we can move forward with the ordinance.
I'm not hearing, I think right now we're, Brian?
Yeah, to Councilmember Stefados's point, that was the outcome of the Parks Committee, is that we were going to have a discussion on this with the retailers, some members of the community, council, and staff to come up with an ordinance. That was what came out of the committee. So if it's different than that,
I think that was kind of in lieu of not being able to actually have, I mean, that was because you were saying that staff couldn't do anything until January.
yeah, it's not that we can't do anything. It's just of all the times in the biennium right now is about the worst time to do policy development because we have people developing the budget and we have budget hearings. And as I mentioned at the meeting, the supervisor of this program is down 2 people, and so he's covering for other jobs that are vacant right now. And so there's just I gave you a timeline that I thought was realistic and I thought would work to get a good bill before the council. If they want something sooner, we're gonna have to cut some other service.
All right, we'll figure it out.
So,
Okay.
Mayor, are there any other cities that have council grocery cart ordinances that we can copy?
I'm sorry, could you
Are
repeat
there
that?
any other cities that have grocery cart ordinances that we could review?
Yes,
Well, maybe that'll help us along a lot.
yes.
Okay. All right, good discussion, everybody, thank you. Betty Taylor. Betty? And then Scott Schaefer after that.
Good evening, my name is Betty Taylor, and I've been a resident of Federal Way for over, 20 years. What would it take for citizens and government officials to wake up and realize that crime happens all the time? Talking about shootings, several of us waved signs pertaining to certain instances regarding gun violence. But now I realize we have to take action in our own hands, because we're just out there waving signs. But we're waving signs, but what's the next step? So, we can't just tiptoe around this problem. We all know that shooting is a big problem. I mean, homicides, just in this year, it's a big problem. And we just can't tiptoe around that problem and act like it doesn't exist. Even though we do have people, like different cities, setting up meetings with this organization and that organization and this mayor and that mayor, but you're leaving out the community. Really, we need to look at the bigger picture. We need to look at a bigger picture because it is big. It's a big issue. And I think that until it happens to your family, you won't realize it. But once it hits your family, you're gonna pound the pavement. But if it doesn't hit you in your gut, you're not gonna do anything until it hits you, till it hits your family. And then that's when people will get involved. But why wait? Why wait? There are families that are affected, even in our city. How many families have been affected by gun violence in our city? And what about their children? What about the families? What about their mental health? Mental health is important. This issue is not going to go away. It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So in the meantime, before it gets bigger, what are we going to do about this? I wave signs along with other people. What is our next step? I'm looking for solutions. I'm not going to be just waving signs for nothing. We're in the process of making more signs. We're going to put pressure on the legislation. If we got to go to Olympia and bring our signs to Olympia, we will do that. But we'll do that until change happens. But it starts with us. And we can't do it alone. We need everybody's help. Let's all work together.
Thank you, Betty. Scott Schaefer.
My name is Scott. I'm a Federal Way homeowner and a retired Air Force vet. I actually just found out about these meetings, so I'm going to speak from my heart and just shoot from my hip. First and foremost, is this just me telling my opinion, or is it some kind of dialect that we have?
Well, it's not normally supposed to be dialogue, but we like to be responsive if we can at the moment,
Okay.
so go ahead.
So I have a concern about the homeless shelter and that they're bringing to Federal Way. I understand that we are our brother's keeper. I believe that from the Bible, and we should help our fellow mankind. But I'm concerned that the lack of laws and lack of rules is going to do two things. For one, it's not going to provide services for people that need it because it's going to be a free-for-all. And then also the fact that anyone can just come in and go as they please, it's just going to bring an army of people looking for handouts. So I have a brother who's homeless, and he needs help, but he has trouble finding the help because most of the people that are there are looking for the hookup, and they're not, so they flood this system. So I just want to know what I can do other than vigilantism to help get some rules and get some checks and balances, because it seems like the Wild West. Like I said, I came from poverty, and I worked hard to create a life for myself. But if I knew I was just going to get a hookup, maybe I wouldn't have done that. And I think these rules are creating this environment for people that just want a free handout. And so I think we need some checks and balances. That's my piece, so thank you.
All right.
Is it a dialogue we have, or?
No, it's okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Great to hear from you, Scott. Thank you. Carmela Jackson.
Hello, everybody. So I feel like I have a solution. I've reached out to Olympia, I've reached out to your office, Mayor, and no one's responded back to me. So now I feel like it's time for me to be able to speak now. I already have a nonprofit. I have a solution to settle all this stuff. As far as the homelessness goes, we will be able to help more than 300 people, 300 families, and I have done my homework. I didn't think I was going to speak today, so I don't have all my numbers or anything like that. But with a lot of the shelters, they're overcrowded, so that's why they're not helping the people. And like the gentleman that just left said, that they need help. With this shelter that I'm building, they're going to get that help. They won't be put out. We have a tank that they'll be able to rest and detox in. They won't be put away. It'll be a gated, fenced-off area to where they would actually have to have a fob to get in there. But we have all kinds of things in place to where they'll have the medical attention. There's a lot of multi-care services around. We have a lot of we'd be right by the hospital. But my thing is, I keep trying to get help. How do I get services to help me start building so that we can get them off the streets? We don't have to worry about them using the carts because we'll have storages on site. They'll be able to put their stuff. And the thing with the homeless people is that, or excuse me, community, is that that's all they have. So yes, they are still in the carts. Am I for stealing carts? Absolutely not. I'm not for stealing. However, that's all they have. So even if you guys take the carts, they're going to come back and get them. So how do we stop that? Let's just put a stop to it altogether. Let's help get this funded and get them off the street, get them the help that they need, not only mental, but also someone else has thought about the health as well. We can get all this stuff going. So help me, help everybody. Let's get this solved. And the program that I have, it is guaranteed to keep these people off the street, because the program that they go through, but it also has to come from you guys too. I don't know if it was in Seattle or Renton, but they have an ordinance in place where if you're living on the streets, you get fined, you get put in jail. But that's because they have places for them to go. So if we give them a place to go, then we can put that in, and then they will be able to stay off the street, and they're not going to choose to go there. Some of them may, but we also have other things for them, counseling services and all that stuff. So maybe not now, you can tell me at the end something, help me get this funded so I can get these people off the street.
All right, thank you, Carmela. I've got Bill, would you connect with Ms. Jackson and set up a meeting, and we'll get Sarah Bridgeford connected as well. Carmela, Sarah Bridgeford is our Human Services Manager, so we'll get you connected with her. But Bill in my office will coordinate with you. Thank you very much. Okay, we've got our Diversity Commission Chair, Trinice Rogers, here. Trinice? That's fast, right?
Yeah, she just walked.
Yeah.
Hi, good evening. I wasn't prepared to speak, but I felt burdened to speak on behalf of the community as it relates to TikTok, the recent TikTok video. Mayor, I just heard you make a comment, and you said we will respond if we can. And so I made a comment, a public comment, over a month ago regarding the TikTok video regarding our police officer. and I pleaded with you to speak on behalf of the city along with the council members as it relates to your position about this embarrassing video. When I spoke to you over a month ago, it was a city embarrassment. Now it has become a national embarrassment. My children have pulled up multiple outlets of this video all over the country, and you have to speak on behalf of the city regarding this because, as I mentioned earlier, this comment has caused trauma and fear throughout the community as it relates to this police officer's words. She made mention of using her privilege as a police officer, and mind you, I have great respect for police officers. My first degree is in criminal justice. I love the field, but when we have bad actors in our community that is wreaking havoc and saying unjust, unfair, fearful words, I think it's time for our community leaders like our Chief Wong to speak on behalf of the department. It's not okay to just give her a slap on the hand and suspend her without pay for one day. That screams complicit. That screams tolerance. And as I know you as a mayor, the way I know you as a mayor and a person, I do not think that you are tolerating this behavior. And as the way I've heard from other people in the community, Chief Wong, I don't deem you as someone who's tolerant of this behavior. But it is time to speak on behalf of the department and behalf of the city because now this has become a national embarrassment. Thank you.
Thank you, Trinice. Chief, is there anything you'd like to say?
Yes, Mayor. Our mission, Federal Way PD's mission, is to earn the public's trust. In this incident, we failed. And as a police chief, I had two options. This is a new officer. I could suspend the officer or terminate the officer. And based on feedback, there was some, from others, there's some outstanding case in which she helped a rape victim from Tacoma. So there's very good qualities about her. So I weighed all the factors, and it was my decision to give her a second chance. What happened is not the core values of our agency. We have hardworking men and women every single day, earning the public's trust. We are not perfect. We seek excellence, but clearly in this incident, we made a mistake, and I apologize on behalf of the entire department. When this came about, we made a statement to the local media. Federal Way Mirror did an article on this. So I feel that we have spoken about it, and it's regrettable, and I apologize on behalf of the entire agency. I take full responsibility. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for your words, Chief Wong, but please explain to me.
I'm sorry, Trinice.
I have a question.
Excuse me, we're not doing this. We're not doing, you've had your minute, you've had your comment. We're not gonna do this.
I just want clarity.
No, excuse me,
Okay, that's
you're out of
fine.
order, okay?
I apologize. I just
All
was
right.
hoping I would
We're-
get clarity.
We do one comment, thank you. Okay, that concludes public comment. Now we are on to presentations. We've got 5A, Proclamation for National Hispanic Heritage Month, September 2022. We've got Council President Coachmore.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to accept the proclamation for National Hispanic Heritage Month? Could they come to the podium? Thank you very much. What I will do is I'll read the proclamation and then I'll come to the podium, and then, sir, you can say a few words. Whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month celebrates the Hispanic and Latino community and highlights its countless achievements, and whereas Hispanic Americans represent a significant and fast-growing demographic of the city of Federal Way, and whereas the Hispanic Heritage Observance began in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week commemoration, first introduced by Congressman George E. Brown in June 1968 under President Lyndon Johnson, and whereas Hispanic Heritage Observance was expanded by President Ronald Reagan in 1988 to cover a 30-day period starting on September 15th and ending on October 15th, and whereas this month's theme, Unidos Exclusivity for a Stronger Nation, United Exclusivity for a Stronger Nation, is from Ms. Illy Soares. Ms. Soares reminds us that having diverse voices in decision-making will produce more thoughtful decisions which lead to more positive impacts for our communities of color and everyone as a whole. Whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month acknowledges and appreciates the deep history, rich heritage, and invaluable contributions made by the ancestors of community members who come from Mexico, Spain, the Caribbean, South and Central America. And whereas the independence anniversary for Latin American countries, El Salvador, Guatemala, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, and Honduras, is September 15th, followed by Independence Day of Mexico on September 16th and Chile on September 18th. And whereas Hispanics have enhanced and added to our national character with century-old traditions that reflect the multi-ethnic and multicultural customs, making our nation stronger and richer in culture. And now therefore, we, the undersigned mayor and city council of the city of Federal Way, do hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th, 2022, as National Hispanic Heritage Month, and do encourage all community members of Federal Way to honor and celebrate Hispanic contributions and culture to our city's diversity. Signed this 20th day of September 2022 by all 7 council members and the mayor. And I just want to mention that as you come in the front door, you will see kind of a tree. And what that is signifying, we put that in when we first built this building. Out of many, we are one. So we are a very diverse community, and out of many diverse cultures, we are one. I think Hispanic in our community, in the this current census was, I think, 18%. I think that, if that's correct. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Well, I give this to you.
Well, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Miguel Maestas, and on behalf of our Executive Director, Estela Ortega, and El Centro de la Raza, which we translate as the Center for People of All Races, we express a profound mil gracias to Mayor Farrell and the honorable members of the City Council for this proclamation, which is a beautiful gesture of solidarity to our Latino community. El Centro is celebrating our 50th anniversary this year, and we have offices and services and programs here in Federal Way. And as we shared, as was shared through this proclamation, the Latino community has been and continues to be a vital part of the cultural, economic, and community life of the city of Federal Way and our region. And El Centro is committed to continue our work to serve Federal Way and South King County and work for equity, justice, and a dignified life for all people. And just something I wanted to share is that Latinos have created businesses at a greater rate than the overall population over the last decade. The number of Latino businesses over that 10 years grew 34%, compared to 1% of all business owners and the new business owners in the United States. And this is according to data from Unidos US, and this, as we know, translates into increased purchasing power and helps strengthen the sense of family and community. We know through El Centro's Business Opportunity Center that helps people start and grow small businesses, that people are ready to work hard and continue to be part of growing our local economies. And before I close, we're happy to share that El Centro is nearing a closing on the purchase of the Patterson's property, and will keep the skating rink business going. We know the economic benefits, and are also keenly aware that the skating rink has been such a wonderful part of this community for generations and will continue. Our plan for the rest of the site and adjacent property includes development of retail space for small business, a new El Centro Community Center and offices, a senior services center, a youth re-engagement center, a plaza and domino park, and a marketplace for vendors, in addition to affordable housing and a child development center. So we again share our gratitude for this proclamation of solidarity in recognition of the contributions of the Latino community. Many, many thank yous. Mil gracias.
All right, thank you very much.
If I can make a comment?
Yes, please.
La gente latina es una muy importante parte de la comunidad, es muy querida para mí. Tengo 3 nietos que son latinos y muchas gracias por todo su trabajo.
All right, thank you. Proclamation, item B, proclamation for the National IT Professionals Day. Deputy Mayor Honda.
Oh, there he comes, flying to the podium. So today is actually the day. It is the National IT Professionals Day, which is awesome that it fell on a council day. Whereas National Information Technology, IT Professionals Day celebrates IT technicians and analysts, developers and architects, engineers and administrators, managers, directors, and others who work behind the scenes to ensure our complicated city computer systems are safe and running smoothly. And whereas, as witnessed in the regional and national news, defending against cyber security threats and system issues is a very real threat which requires a vast range of technology knowledge and computer system security awareness. And whereas Federal Way IT staff often work weekends to maintain and upgrade citywide systems and update security measures to mitigate against such cyber threats. And whereas government, and specifically Federal Way, have embraced technology and have become more dependent upon it for daily uses for public outreach, permits, courts and law enforcement, engineers, attorneys and accountants, human resources, and others. And whereas when these operations are running smoothly, it can be easy to forget about IT professionals until the system goes down or devices stop working properly, and then they become our best friends or the most important people in the building. And whereas we celebrate and thank our information technology team of Thomas, Brian, Eric, Anna, Jerry, Shao, Colby, Yeager, Terry, and Anthony for the contributions to maintaining and enhancing the systems and technology we depend on daily. Now therefore, we, the mayor and city council, do proclaim September 20th, 2022 as National IT Professionals Day in Federal Way and extend appreciation to our City of Federal Way dedicated technology team who keep us connected, enabling to conduct the business of the city and provide the services that are necessary for our citizens. Signed this 20th day of September 2022. And last year was the first year we celebrated this. And as I said last year, and I'll say it again, without Thomas and the IT team, we wouldn't be sitting up here having a meeting. So we appreciate you.
Thank you.
And council, we have a gift for Thomas, if you'd like to come with me. Yep, everybody. Sometimes we just have to have a little appreciation for staff. So this is for you.
All right.
And this is also. So over the course of, since we've been running, having meetings again here, and everyone is getting used to the system, and you come running out to save everyone who's up here, we thought you needed a gift.
All right.
So,
Here we go.
it'll fly behind you.
It's the IT hero. How about that?
Can we get a picture with you?
Yeah. Right here.
Up here.
Okay.
You want your mask?
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Well, my other presentation costume is
I was just gonna say, you're missing the ID, that's good. Not to worry, IT man is here. There we go.
Thank you, Thomas.
Velcro for that.
No kidding.
Yeah.
On behalf of everybody, all IT professionals that work in the back, thank you, and I appreciate the mayor and the council for their support.
All right, thank you. Okay, council committee and regional committee reports. Item 6, Parks, Recreation, Human Services, and Public Safety. That's Councilmember Walsh. In English this time.
Bueno, muy bien. As has already been discussed, we, in our recent committee meeting, we discussed at length the need for a shopping cart ordinance, and that will continue with our next meeting and have something to take action on our next meeting, which will be October 11th, I believe.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Land Use Transportation, LUTC, Councilmember Dovey.
Yeah, the only thing I have to report is October 3rd, which is our next meeting. Is that correct? Yes. I looked at my calendar from our IT director on how to run my iPad, so that was good. Yes, October 3rd, we're going to have our next land use meeting. Agenda will be out shortly.
Okay. Finance, Economic Development, Regional Affairs Committee, otherwise known as FEDREC, Councilmember Tran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We did not meet in the month of August, so our next meeting is going to be on September 27th at 5 p.m. In this room. Thank you,
Okay,
Mayor.
all right. Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, LTAC, Councilmember Asefa Dawson.
Good evening, everyone. I don't have anything to report on. Our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, October 12th. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I've been a little bit busy. The Catapult grand opening was a couple Fridays ago. It was at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. The business has been open for about a year, but she was ready to do her grand opening. And boy, if I was younger and healthier, it would be a lot of fun in there. You get to fly around and jump and stuff. It should be a place for adults only sometimes. Anyway, we like to support our businesses, so that was great to be able to be there and to support her. I went to the PIC meeting, the Public Issues Committee meeting on September 14th, and a couple things came out of there that I'd like to discuss with council. One is the regional boards and committees applications are open now, and applications are due by the end of business on November 10th. So if you're interested in serving on a committee next year, or you're on a committee now, you need to reapply. If you would like to talk to me or Councilmember Asefa Dawson or anyone who's been on any of these committees, please do so. I think it's really important that we have council members represented on these committees. You're not representing Federal Way, you're representing SCA, but you learn a lot, you meet other people in other cities, and you work together. And so there's a wide amount of committees. You can find them we have a book with all the committees when they meet, what times and what they do. And please ask if you're interested. I think it would be great. And there is only one person per city per committee. So if you're interested on serving on a committee, if you could let me and the council president know, and we can check out to see if anyone else is also applying for that, because SCA won't even go through with the discussion unless one of those folks from the city would drop out. We also talked about the SCA legislative agenda, and they're asking all cities to turn theirs in. I know we generally don't get ours until like November, end of November, December, but it probably isn't a bad idea to start thinking about that and working on it. And the commercial aviation capacity report, this is something I'm thinking that maybe the city of Federal Way would like to get involved in. As you know, we are looking for, well, not us, but the state's looking for possibly siting a new airport because SeaTac is so large and really can't grow anymore. They have come up with 10 possible locations, and unfortunately, one is in southeast King County. And so the cities of Auburn, Black Diamond, Covington, Enumclaw, and Maple Valley provided a comment letter to the committee during the research. It's too late to have a comment letter from us that would be part of the record, but I believe, and it would take, of course, a council vote, that we should be supporting these cities so that this is not cited in King County. We already have SeaTac. We have the largest airport. And to cite another airport here, I think would be very, very detrimental to the well-being of everyone in King County. It makes no sense to me why they would even choose a site in King County. I mean, that's just up the hill from us. It would have a huge impact. So perhaps we could talk about that and see where we want to go with it in maybe one of our committees, but I think we should stand with these cities and see what we can do. I went to the Board of Health meeting last week. We had a report on drug use in King County. Fentanyl is now the choice drug. Pills are about $5 each. It's now coming in powder and rock form, and it's more powerful than it's been in the past. We've had a record amount of overdoses and deaths, and I did learn at that point that every high school in the state is required to have naloxone on hand, but I'm not sure how our schools handle that. So we also met the new public health director, Dr. Kahn from St. Louis, and talked about the new makeup of the Board of Health. Next month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and the SCA members of the DVI King County Task Force, of which I'm a member, sent a letter to King County Prosecutor's Office and Dow Constantine asking for some money for more advocates for DV, people who are suffering from in domestic violence. We don't know how far that will go, but we felt it was important that we reach out and get more help for these folks. I'm on a committee called Aircraft Emissions Meeting. They meet about every 4 or 5 months. We had a meeting yesterday. This was a committee that the King County Council formed, and they formed it in relation because the public asked for some help with emissions from aircraft. So a study's been done. It's being wrapped up. The report is coming out next month, and every city will get one. And we will find out from the report how emissions are affecting Federal Way, because they've actually pulled out every city, and every city will have numbers and graphs and how it's affecting us. And then today we had the Skateboard Meeting, which is a South County Transportation Board, and we hosted it here in Federal Way. There was a very interesting discussion from Sound Transit on security and drug use and how fares are collected or not collected. I asked about using the turnstile method, which like every other transit center or operation uses, and they are going to be doing a study on that to see if they can change the transit stations so that they actually, you have to pay before you can even get on a train. Everyone else does it. I think we should be doing it too. But they have hired some fare enforcement officers who have training in how to handle folks, how to work with people that might be not using the trains properly. And they need to hire about 40 people more before they get as many as they need. But they are working on making the trains safer and welcoming the public back, because since more people are going into Seattle to work, more people are using light rail and the Sounder train. So they will have fare ambassadors on these trains to not only make sure that you have paid if you're supposed to pay, but that you're also safe.
All right, Council President Kochbar.
Well, in conjunction with what Deputy Mayor has just talked about with regard to the second regional airport, we've talked about this for so many years, and I would hope that they continue to look at Painfield and Everett, which would make the most sense. I would like to see the city at some point talk about an ad campaign, primarily for our school children, to understand that fentanyl kills. And I don't see that ad campaign coming out of the school district. I don't know if they're teaching it in the schools. They used to say, just say no to drugs. I don't know what they're doing now. But I think that we need to have some kind of information out there for our children so that they understand that even marijuana will be cut with fentanyl. And they need to understand how dangerous this drug is. It comes out of China through Mexico, up across the border, and it's making its way to our school children. Mayor, I know that we're going to do the Mayor's Day for the Food for the Hungry, annual food tour, on September 24th, but I haven't seen a sign-up sheet yet. Is there anything coming out for the council to sign up?
Yes, we'll get that out tomorrow.
Oh, good, wonderful. And so Taste of Federal Way is going to be at the Farmers Market this Saturday at 11 o'clock. Wonderful event. A lot of our different restaurants and some of our schools are involved with it. Come on over, buy a ticket, taste the different types of restaurant food, and then choose the one that you like the best. And it's a lot of fun for the community, and it's a good way to give money back to our different agencies. And so another thing that's coming up is, earlier we testified about businesses having problems in Federal Way, whether it's robbery, whether it's windows being broken, whether it's catalytic converters being stolen in parking lots in front of the business during the daytime. I have been visiting some businesses. By the way, El Campeon is very happy with our volunteer group, Stand Up Federal Way, who's gone to clean up their parking lot. They just love them because they were volunteering to clean up their parking lot. I did visit Performance Prep, and I told them I would talk about that here, how they feel that they need to be supported by our city. And I think that all of our businesses that are being victimized at this point need to be supported by our city as much as we can, and I just really believe in that. So, and then finally, I want to talk about October 21st. This is fall time is when we try to help the hungry. And so Federal Way Community Caregiving Network will be having their 21st annual Super Supper. It'll be at the Christian Faith Center, and it'll be, the time will be from 5:30 to 8 p.m. So October 21st, 5:30 to 8 p.m. If you've never been to a Super Supper, what that means is you get a bowl, and you get a bowl of soup, many different kinds of soup, as much soup as you can eat. And it's a wonderful community event, and the money goes to help the people in need. Thank you, Mayor.
All right.
One more thing.
Yeah, Council President.
I wasn't sure if it would be mentioned, but on Friday, we're having a special meeting this Friday from 1 to 4 to discuss ARPA funding. The public is welcome to attend, of course. It'll be in here, and that's Friday, 1 to 4.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, now on to the consent agenda. These items have gone through committee and can be passed all at once. I'll ask, after I read them all, I ask if a council member will, one, have an item pulled for separate consideration. Item A, minutes for the September 6, 2022 regular meeting. B, Amendment 2, underground utility locating correction. C, Department of Commerce grant authorization request. D, King County Registered Sex Offender Cost Reimbursement Agreement. E, Puget Sound Auto Theft Task Force, PSATT, 2022 Mini Grant Award. F, Agreement between the Washington State Traffic Commission and Washington Traffic Safety Commission and the Federal Way Police Department to provide grant funding for traffic enforcement. G, Criminal Justice Training Commission, CJTC, Basic Law Enforcement Academy, BLEA, TAC Officer Agreement. And H, Contracted Electrical Services Request for quotes. Council, is there an item that we would, any member would want pulled for separate consideration? Okay, Council President Kochmar.
Thank you. I move approval of items A through H on the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been a motion and a second to approve items A through H, excuse me. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Matters passed unanimously. Thank you. Item 8, public hearing. Public hearing was continued from the August 9th meeting. No need to open, so we don't need to reopen the hearing. It's already open. Item A, 2021 Comp Plan Amendment and Development Agreement for the former Bally's property, continued again from August 9th. First, we'll have a staff report from Natalie Kamenicki, our associate planner. Then we'll have public comment. I've got a few pink sheets, 3 minutes each. Natalie?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Farrell, Deputy Mayor Honda, Council President Kochmar, and council members. Again, for the record, my name is Natalie Kamenicki, Associate Planner with Community Development. It is a pleasure to be here again with you regarding the public hearing continuation of the Bally's Community Plan, Comprehensive Plan Amendment, Rezone, and Development Agreement. Tonight I will be very brief. I know at our last meeting in the opening of the hearing, we went over factors and criteria and the staff report at length. But just to reiterate, the request by the applicant is for a comprehensive plan amendment, rezone, and development agreement for the former Bally site to go from the office park designation to multifamily residential RM 1800. The Planning Commission held public hearings regarding this proposal and recommended that the proposed comprehensive plan amendment not be adopted until such time the applicant and city enter into a development agreement pursuant to Federal Way Revised Code 1985 to cover home ownership opportunities and other items deemed appropriate by the City Council. Throughout this process, a development agreement was submitted, and the development agreement allows for market rate townhomes and includes home ownership opportunity through the recording of a condominium community. The condominium allows for individual sale of the units as market conditions allow at the discretion of the property owner. So to go over briefly, the Bally's development agreement, again, is for market rate townhouse development with a condominium community recorded within 60 days of issuance of the certificates of occupancy. Each unit will have a detached garage with 2-car garage space. Each unit will have access to open space privately and collectively on the site. Parking for guests will be provided off-street, and each townhome, again, will have 2 garage parking stalls. In our previous meeting, a lot of comments came up about traffic, so it's important to remember this is a non-project action, and there will be a significant land use review should the proposal be approved. So at present, the application is both fronting South 328th Street and First Avenue South. Both access points at present are from South 328th Street. The Traffic Division will conduct a transportation concurrency analysis, which will analyze peak hour trips and impacts of the project to ensure that there is adequate capacity to accommodate the proposed development. Any supplemental mitigation that may be required if the proposed project creates an impact not anticipated in the transportation improvement plan. All development proposals will be subject to traffic impact fee to address system impacts, and site-specific traffic impact analysis will serve to address any outside the evening peak hour trips and any safety issues not addressed under concurrency. A few more items of note from the Traffic Division. The development at the Bally's site of 140 units approximately would generate less than 1% of the traffic on First Avenue South. South 328th Street is classified as a minor collector, and which can be expected to carry up to 5,000 vehicles per day. Current volumes on South 328th Street are less than half of that, and the development is expected to increase current volumes by less than 5%. The concurrency analysis would be able to quantify congestion impacts at intersections, but currently there are no intersections of the city that are failing concurrency. As a note, we do have Rick Perez, our traffic city engineer, here to address any other more specific traffic comments. But to refocus on These last two slides, we have the bird's eye view of what the existing zoning and comprehensive plan designation look like for the parcel. Again, it's zoned OP. The site was developed pre-City of Federal Way Incorporation, and likely was zoned OP to avoid creating a non-conforming use on the site. We can see that if the proposal is approved, the zoning is consistent with adjacent zoning classifications in the residential multifamily zone. It's consistent, the market rate townhouse element of the development agreement is consistent with adjacent uses. And other elements of the Federal Way comprehensive plan to provide missing middle housing, and it's also consistent with our housing action plan to create more of this type of housing throughout the city. So that is how brief I'm going to be, since I was very long-winded last time. I am happy to answer any questions at this time or throughout any of the rest of the meeting.
Oh, very, very good. Councilmember Dovey, do you have a question?
Can we ask questions after we hear the public comment and
course.
have any other presentations? I've got like 12 of them, so it's going to be long.
All right.
Okay, great.
Be ready, Natalie. All right, thank you. All right, let's get to public comment. Ben Taylor, and after Ben, we've got Alex Milston and Mike and Eileen Peterson. And then we've got, I think I said it before, we had the remote, Bo Bowell and Mo Mahuchi, that are remote as well. I do want to note, before I forget, that we did receive written comments on this against the Bally's rezone by Mary Herman, and for Bally's rezone was Mike Wanquist, Tom Pan, Laura Latin, and Dulce Rodriguez, and those are part of the record. Is that correct? Okay. And if somebody wanted to see those letters, how would they find them?
They're online, Mayor. Have to
Okay.
do with the packet, the
All
council
right.
packet for this meeting.
Very good. Okay, very good. Ben Taylor.
Good evening, Mayor Farrell, Council President Kochmar, Deputy Mayor Honda, and council members, as well as city staff. My name, for the record, again, is Ben Taylor. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of the Master Builders Association, the largest home builders association in the United States. Thank you for the opportunity to comment regarding Federal Way's comprehensive plan amendments and the attainability of housing for all of your constituents, with a particular focus on the ongoing project at the old Bally's Total Fitness location. This project, under its proposed development agreement, is a major step in achieving your city's goals, as stated in your housing needs assessment and housing action plan. To keep up with comp plan growth targets, the city needs to produce at least 340 units of housing per year, adding overall 6,800 units of housing by 2040. The proposed agreement would not only increase the overall supply of housing, lowering property costs and rents throughout the area, but does so by constructing missing middle townhomes, bringing rental and home ownership opportunities that make far more efficient use of developable land than the current office park zoning and the languishing vacant building on the lot. For individuals and families on the path to home ownership, people building generational wealth, missing middle housing serves as a valuable stepstone between an apartment and the purchase of their dream home. The townhomes Intracorp wants to build here will play a similar, vital role in the progression from a shared apartment to a townhome to a single-family detached unit. Millions of Americans follow this path to home ownership, and increasing the variety of housing types in your community makes all housing more attainable to your citizens of all income levels. Federal Way is already an excellent place to live and work, and under your leadership, we at the Master Builders Association are sure that it's only going to get better. As more people move here and housing costs increase, we ask that you ensure your residents have the greatest diversity of housing opportunity, which means more affordable and denser housing options like townhomes, regardless of whether they be rented or owned. If you have any further questions or comments, please don't hesitate to comment me at the Master Builders Association. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you tonight.
Thanks, Ben. All right, Alex Milston. Is Alex still here?
Out having a cigarette.
All right, okay. Hey, Ken, are you gonna go get him? Oh, here he is. All right. Our future city planner here. Alex.
That was quick. Sorry, time flew by. I'm Alex, and I'm a resident of Federal Way. I believe that the Valley's property should be zoned for mixed use. Being able to build both residential and commercial units in that area would do a lot for that region. It would allow for the people there to be able to walk to stores, to walk to local businesses, and which would save them money on gas. It would give them the ability to exercise by walking. It'd give them the ability to save money, and it also give the companies there, it give the businesses there a more stable base of customers, because they'll have people living nearby who could walk there and shop there, which would allow money to flow through that area, and would do a lot for both the businesses there and for the people up there. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alex. Mike and Eileen Peterson.
We're Mike and Eileen Peterson. We've lived in Federal Way for 30 years or so, and we had heard many things about the Valley property and what was going to be put there, and we started to hear low-income housing, apartments, and right there, I'm so glad to hear that perhaps that we've got the townhomes coming in, because we have to take a look at what we've done to this city with the low-income housing and the apartments. There's just no more stability with the schools. You have families coming and going. Please, when you think about low-income housing or apartments, take a look at what it's done to some of the schools here. Take a look at Todd Beamer. When my kids graduated in 2008, 2011, that was an awesome school, great programs. Now, I know several educators that don't even want to be there. So please, let's continue with this townhomes. Get this middle-income people a chance to get a start, and let's stop with the low-income housing here, the apartments. Another city has to take it on. Let's think of the school systems, please.
All right. Thank you very much. And Stephanie, could you hit the restart clock because they're individuals, so.
We were supposed to be a group, but someone left, so.
Oh, I see. Well, just add two more.
I just have one real quick.
Yeah,
I love the idea of townhomes, that's great. Only concern that I have is going down First Avenue prior to 320th. There's 324th when you make that left into the Campus Woods development there. The traffic gets backed up there, and with more housing or townhouses there, we're gonna have to take a look at First Avenue there, because there are sometimes accidents without a light there that goes into the Campus Woods development. So that's the only concern that I'd have. I like the idea of townhomes. Sounds great. It's too bad we can't keep the tennis courts and make them into pickleball courts, but anyway, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, Tony King, Shik Kim. And then Eric Labrie.
Thank you, Mayor, for letting me speak on behalf of this. Because I'm the neighbor of that project. We live in the Colonial Forest #1, and we've been living over there 5-6 years right now, and we are really happy with all the situation. And when I moved in the Federal Way in 1982, my daughter #1 came in 82. So. And Federal Way is a fresh and warm society, and we are expecting we'll be on the southern Bellevue of South King County. Right now, it's getting very strange, like the other gentleman told us about it. It's about all the low-income housing and the homeless people and the druggy people mess up the stuff, and And my point of view of this one is this kind of a very unique true balance and harmony situation with the 6 acre. And the current the suggested amendment is way better than the low-income housing deal, but still is the ideally keep the zoning as same as office park will be the true balance and harmony of this society, because of we already kind of changing our dynamics around the city because of the development and so on. But when I look at the office park zoning, we have office retail, entertainment, limited commercial, school, colleges, daycare facilities, hospitals, and nursing homes, and the funeral homes, and government facility, public utility, personal wireless, and churches, and especially urban agriculture, and the other office and retail, and we allowed like 70 feet high. So rather than changing the zoning, down zoning to the RM 1800, keep the same office park zoning would make the true balance and the true harmony of our community for the long run. As of now, we do not have a choice because of we don't want to have a low-income housing, so we are allowing this one. But for the long run, if we foresee 50 years after, 30 years after, what we need in this society.
All right.
Yep.
Thanks,
Thank you,
sir.
Mayor. Yep.
All right, thank you. Eric Labrie.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. I'm Eric Labrie, agent for the applicant of this project before you this evening. I'm sorry, I thought we were going to present right after the staff report so that we could try to explain and expand on some of the answers we provided previously. I think we're fine. Anyway, with me tonight are Greg Sorbana, who represents the landowner, so he'll be speaking next. And then after that, Liz Soldano, who represents the developer, Intercorp, and she's also going to be talking about the development agreement. Thank you very much for your insightful questions last time. We hope that between us we can answer those to a little bit further degree and answer any additional questions you may have as well. First, I'd like to reiterate just a couple of main points. For the last 7+ years, that property has been vacant, deteriorating, and providing no benefit to the city and no benefit to the citizens. It's been for sale for the majority of that time, and nobody's come forward with a desire to redevelop those buildings or that site under the current zoning. What we have before you tonight is an opportunity to provide missing middle housing, something that the city's already identified it needs. And with approval of the comp plan amendment and the development agreement together, you'll get that. To illustrate my point, I have 2 children. One's 27 and one's 29. When they both graduated from colleges, they both rented apartments in apartment communities. A few years later, they both chose to rent condominiums in condominium communities. One of them rented a single or an attached townhome in a condominium community. Last month, he moved into his first rental single-family detached home. My daughter is going through underwriting now to put in an offer on her first purchase of a single-family home. In both instances, both of my children used condominiums as an opportunity to move up that ladder towards home ownership. So I'm done unless there are specific questions, and I'd like Greg Sorbana to come up next, if that's okay.
All right, thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Greg Sorbana.
Thank you. Good evening, President Kochmar, Mayor Farrell, council members, and staff. My name is Greg Sorbana, and I'm testifying in support of the proposed sale of the former Bally's property located at 32818 First Avenue South. And I'm here this evening representing the current owner of the parcel, which is Widener Apartment Homes. While we own, manage, and develop rental housing throughout Washington, we are active in 13 other states. Our development pipeline is robust as we have close to 3,500 different apartments in various stages of construction, from concept to engineering and all the way to vertical construction and lease up. Simply put, we are not in a position to build on the Bally's parcel and would rather see it developed in the near term to meet the housing needs, the increased demand for housing, than sit as a potential site for future development. I sit on the board of directors of the National Apartment Association, and one of the dominant conversations that we have is about housing affordability. And the driver of housing being unaffordable is primarily a supply problem, and that is the key issue that needs to be solved. Increased housing supply will address affordability in the long term, creating a pipeline of naturally occurring affordable housing. In a presentation that was delivered last Thursday, Windermere economist Matthew Gardner and Dylan Simon of Kidder Matthews shared the following statistics. Over the last decade, the state population has grown each and every year, and we've added more than 954,000 new residents. That's a 13.5% population growth and was the 4th fastest pace in the nation. In fact, Washington is now the 13th most populous state in the union. King County has the highest average in-migration numbers in the state, close to 4 times the next county, which would be Snohomish and Pierce, and renters make up 11% of the state. With rents increasing 9.8% year over year in King County, the average vacancy rate is 5.2% in King County. Effectively, the market is fully rented. But when you isolate South King County, the situation gets much worse, as rents are up 11.8% and vacancy sits at just 3.6%. The point is that we need to have new supply to be constructed as soon as possible. I have 4 kids, ages 22 to 30, and none of them are homeowners here in King County because of the lack of housing opportunities for them to purchase. I actually started my career as a housing provider here in Federal Way up on 272nd at a community that used to be called the Redondo Beach Club, if some of you know where that is, and that was almost 30 years ago. This project that Intracor is proposing is exactly the type of missing middle community that we should be promoting as options for young professionals, such as my kids, as a stepping stone to their first home. That term missing middle refers to diverse housing options such as duplexes, fourplexes, cottage courts, and yes, townhouses as well. These housing scaled buildings fit seamlessly into existing residential neighborhoods and support locally serving retail and the desire for walkability. They provide solutions along a spectrum of affordability to address the mismatch between the availability of current product in the U.S. and shifting demographics. And as such, I urge your confirmation of the development agreement in order to get this project built. And I really thank you for your time this evening.
All right, thanks, Greg.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Saldana.
Thank you, and we're back again. And I'm just going to take a few minutes tonight and just address the 3 questions that we heard in the last meeting. The first one was, what's the pathway to ownership for this project? And we've committed to, and it states in the development agreement, that a condominium structure will be put in place that can allow each individual townhome to be sold as a condominium home. The second question that came up is, why doesn't Intracorp know whether they'll rent or build or sell these townhomes now? And for a number of reasons, the residential development market is unpredictable right now. And we're building flexibility into this project to adapt to these market conditions as we go through the process of entitlements. So that said, we're still committed to advancing this project and building a condominium quality, market rate townhome community that we think Federal Way will be proud of. The third question that came up was, how will traffic matters be addressed? And I know that Natalie addressed this earlier, but I just wanted to restate that following the adoption of the rezone and the comp plan amendment, we will submit a formal development application to the city, and part of that review process will include addressing traffic concerns. So that's what I had to say tonight. Just wanted to address the questions that came up last time. We're still very excited about the opportunity to be in Federal Way. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, Councilmember Dovey, you had some questions?
Mayor, we have some people online. Mayor.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. That's right. Sorry. We had, I've got it right here. I only said it twice. Bo Bowl first. Bo?
I don't think that they are on the line. We do have Mo, and then we have a hand raised from Colleen Sembar.
Okay. Mo, can you hear us? Mo Mahuchi?
Yes, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome, great. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, I'm here tonight to show my support for the townhome project at the former Valley site. I've also sent a support letter previously on August 4th. As a dentist in Federal Way and with many of my friends, family, and colleagues in the family stages of their lives, I hear about the challenges of finding good places to raise a family on a regular basis. In particular, the difficulty of finding new or newer homes that don't require too much attention or maintenance. More housing equals more business, which equals more jobs. Thank you for your attention.
All right, thank you, Doctor. Okay, and who else do we have?
Next person, we have Colleen Sembar, and then we have a Rachel Porter after her.
All right. Colleen? Can you hear it?
Yeah, sorry, can you guys hear me?
Kind of. It's a little metallic. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Say hello to everybody, and Mayor, I talked to you before the Husky game on Saturday, and we have an awesome win. My concern about this whole business is I live immediately behind the property that is in construction. And concerned about the report that said that the 328 can handle 1,000 cars a day, and we're not anywhere close to traffic on that road. So I hope development does involve a traffic study, because it would be bad to have like 3 times as many cars running on that road. The other thing is, everybody has had the experience of living around rentals, and that is beautiful.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, next.
Next person is Rachel Porter.
Rachel?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
We can, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. My name is Rachel Porter, and I'm speaking on behalf of Rebecca Martin, Chamber of Commerce CEO, who gave me a prepared statement. The House Action Plan adopted by the City of Federal Way strategies include increased diversity in housing choices, supporting housing opportunities for residents of all income levels, as well as supporting pathways to home ownership. As noted in the plan, the city needs a diversity of new housing types, including both rental ownership, units that cater to a variety of income levels, and housing needs to grow in a balanced manner. This includes missing middle housing types, such as townhomes and condominiums that can support affordable home ownership opportunities. It is our understanding Intercorp plans to redevelop 32818 First Ave South in Federal Way for sale townhouse or condo quality market rate rental townhomes, not to exceed 3 stories, that complement the existing neighborhood character. The Greater Federal Way Chamber supports the development of housing densities in Federal Way that encourage market rate home ownership or rental opportunities in accordance with the city's strategy to provide a sufficient supply of both market rate and income qualified housing that supports neighborhood stability, vibrant communities, and economic vitality. On behalf of the business community, thank you for your continued support of the Chamber network of business leadership in Federal Way.
All right, thank you, Rachel. Okay, is that it now?
Yes, that's all.
All right, very good, thank you. We're in a public hearing. If you'd like to make a comment, you can fill out a comment sheet. Oh, okay. Oh, you did? Okay, well, I didn't get it. Come on up. We'll fill out another one for you. Go ahead first.
It's up there somewhere.
All right. Go ahead.
Nancy Justice, Federal Way resident. It's me again.
Actually, can I interrupt you for a second? Could you restart her time? Nancy, I had it. I thought for sure when I got another one, you testified earlier. So when I got it, I thought, how did this get over here? We already handled, Nancy
You're gonna
already
have to hear
talked.
from me twice.
Exactly. Okay, so let's hit that restart. Sorry about that, Nancy.
Okay. So I happen to live in the property right behind the Bally's property, Heritage Court. And from Natalie's graphics, I noticed looking at the neighborhood I live in, it looks to be about twice the size of the Bally's property. And what concerned me is, if I remember correctly, what she said, there's going to be 140 units. Well, my neighborhood, Heritage Court, we have 80 units, 80 homes, on twice the amount of property, and there's going to be 140 people there. That's really something to consider. And I hope the traffic planners go to 328th on a day when the school buses are picking up and dropping off, because there are parents and kids lined up there, the buses stop there. And as far as the whole thing happening, I'm not really comfortable with it, because we get a lot of vagaries. The market, you can't predict it. Well, if they're market rate, even if we have a bad, spell in the market, they still can be for sale. What I don't want to see happen is they end up being rentals or purchased by people that want to have rentals, so that we get a group of people that aren't invested in the property. My neighborhood, for example, if you buy there, you have to live there for a year before you're able to rent it out. And also, only 10% of the homes in my neighborhood are available to rent, which keeps it from being bought up and becoming a rental neighborhood. Yeah, I still have a lot of reservation about the whole thing, so.
All right, thank you. All right, and thanks for raising your hand. Okay, now we've got Councilmember Dovey.
Okay, I do have quite a few questions. So I know that you got the budget you got to present tonight, and.
We're all ears,
Okay.
Councilmember. We're here.
And
we're here
and
to do
before I ask these questions, I just want to put it in perspective. My father was the one who designed West Campus for Weyerhaeuser. I was the surveyor out there back in the 70s, so I understand a lot of development. And some of these questions are going to need to go to, I'm going to ask the staff mostly, and it's more process than it is about the development or condos or houses, okay? I just want to put that in perspective.
Got it.
So, as I look at this, the first question I have is, the land now is the way it's zoned, and so could you, maybe it's Brian, can you tell me what the value of that land is now versus what it will become when it's rezoned, if it is rezoned?
Yeah, I think Natalie's got this answer.
Natalie?
Hello, yes, again, for the record, my name is Natalie Kamenicki. And right now, the value of the property is approximately $3 million. And it's difficult to find comparables exactly of the style of townhome that this is proposed to be. We have a lot of apartment style, what we kind of describe of as woody walk-ups. So, but in my best kind of estimation of looking at other condominiums that we have in the city that, again, aren't exactly like the one that would be built at Bally's, as far as age and quality, we're looking at potentially changing that property value from 3 to conservatively $50 million or more, in which would be the new.
Okay, so to clarify what I heard, if we make this rezone, it goes from a value of 3 million to 50 million. Is that?
Potentially,
plus
once
or
it's
minus?
developed, after, the development cost would probably be $70 million to construct this project.
Okay. can you go over with me any other times in the history of the city of Federal Way where there's been a process like this where it was zoned business park or OP and we changed it to condominiums or rentals or anything like that? When was the last time, or how many times has that happened?
I am not aware of how many times we have rezoned specifically for this type of use. The development agreement really spawned from addressing public comments on what those uses might be and how that property might be used, and the expression of homeownership availability. So the development agreement is a little bit unique. It came from partially the Planning Commission recommendation and working with public comment, and the applicants actually also working with the neighborhoods to discuss the proposal in more detail as well, to try to find a pathway that benefits both the city and the development that would occur there.
Okay. So I think the last time we did this, as I remember from years and years ago, was Park 16 Apartments. Wasn't that was like business park and we rezoned it to apartments? Is that the last time? Or
I am not aware.
does
of
anybody
that
know?
project.
Brian?
We've had little rezones here and there. I don't know to the scale of what, to this one, could have been Park 16, but we have every year we have a docket where there's some rezone proposal of a parcel. Usually it's an upzone request like this one is.
Mm-hmm. So what happens if we decide to rezone this? What's the precedence for somebody else that comes in later, 2 years from now, that, you know, they're zoned something different and they want to go to the same type of process? What precedence does that do in our processes?
It's more of an evaluation of each proposal on its own merits rather than equating it to something that happens somewhere else in the city. Like, this is unique. It's an island. It's a spot zone, which, you know, if you're creating a city, putting a office park right in the middle of residential doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I think it was zoned that simply because that was the use at the time it was incorporated into the city, and they didn't want to create a non-conforming use. So that would be a consideration of this one, whereas if someone were to want to request the same thing in another part of the city, that would, you know, would they also be the zoning exists because they're a non-conforming use? I mean, each situation is different, so I don't know if there's a precedent setting with each one.
Okay, so what you're saying is that if the council decides to make this rezone, it wouldn't be something that someone comes to us later, they have money to build something somewhere that's not zoned, and they decide that, hey, the city did it once, we want to do it again? I mean,
If I'm hearing you right, your concern is precedent implies like binding, or it obligates council to take a similar action in the future, and that is not the case. Each of
Okay,
these
yeah,
are evaluated.
I am concerned, again, I understand we need middle housing, I understand we need lots of things, but we also have zoning for reasons, the way it's put together. And if all of a sudden we start changing the zoning, what's the next person or the next entity that comes with a project that, that's what I'm concerned about, or I need to know a little bit more about.
Yeah, and that would be an evaluation of the council at the time that that proposal were to come in.
Okay, so do we have precedents where we've gone from, I know in the past, we've always gone like from 96 or from larger to 96 and down. Right now, we have 2,400 on one side, 1,800 on the other. Is there any other precedents in the city where we've done this, other than spot zoning?
Where we've rezoned at something similar nearby?
Yes.
Yes, we have.
When was the last example we did that?
There was, I mean, we, like I said, we do them each year, so I don't recall it might have been I'm not gonna throw something out that I don't, but I just know that there are specific parcel requests that we have, that the council has rezoned in my last 6 years here.
Okay.
That happens almost each year.
Okay. Maybe I could ask Rick Perez or you a question on the traffic piece of it.
Sure, let's bring up.
I mean, I
Rick.
see the numbers. Could you dig in a little bit more or be a little bit more?
I think Rick would probably be the best person for that.
Yeah, I was going to say, Rick, I mean, how did you come up with those numbers? They seem fairly low for the amount of residents and what the area looks like.
So it used to be just one big book. Now it's 3 volumes of studies that try to correlate particular size of the development with how much traffic is generated from them. And so we use that as, as basically a compendium of equations and rates that are based on studies throughout the US and Canada. So anyway, yeah, typically they're usually within 10-20%.
So we've done a lot of traffic mitigation over the years. You've been doing this for as long as I've ever been here, and longer probably. Do you have any estimate of what the traffic mitigation will actually cost to do, or how much that looks like? I know that we had a fellow come in the other day and wanted to do something very simple, and it was like a $10,000 bill to put a shed over a bunch of cars so they wouldn't get their catalytic converters stolen. But what does this actually look like?
So there's different processes that we use. First off, we talk about frontage improvements. I'm not going to try and guess how much those frontage improvements would cost, but basically bringing the frontage on both First Avenue South and South 328th Street up to current city standards. For the most part, the streets are wide enough, but the sidewalks do not meet our current standard. So there'd be that. In addition, there's the concurrency process, which attempts to identify any concurrency failures that are generated by the development. And that's a staff analysis that conducts that. And at this point, I wouldn't anticipate any failures from this because we don't have any current failures in the city of our adopted level of service standard. The third thing is the traffic impact fees. Based on last year's, when we did the pre-application meeting for this proposal, we estimated $480,000 in impact fees that would help fund improvements throughout the city. Finally, there's the SEPA analysis, where we would address any potential safety issues that are identified either by staff or from the public. And that's usually most of it. There's sometimes issues about driveway spacing. We have code to address that. And so any deviations from any of those standards or requirements requires a separate process called a street modification request. So there's a lot there to go through.
And one last traffic question. In the past, when people put in buildings, developments, we go to the next traffic signal and the next one. Are we going to be looking at the traffic lights at, I don't know what the street is, it goes into up the hill and the one over at First Avenue?
Oh, 330th?
Yeah, 330th. I mean, we hear about impacts with cars. I mean, how far is this traffic study going to go?
So as far as the concurrency analysis goes, we chase things down to one peak hour trip. So basically, any additional traffic on any arterial or principal collector, we're evaluating every intersection that is impacted by that.
I'll let somebody else ask a question if there is one.
Very good, thank you. Deputy Mayor Honda.
Thank you. I have 2 questions. One, just for my knowledge, is a townhouse only 3 stories? It never goes above 3 stories? Is that the definition of a townhouse?
Natalie Kamenicki for the record. The definition of a townhouse would be an attached dwelling vertically and not stacked. Stacked would be your typical type of apartment use, which is separate from a townhouse definition development in our zoning code. So the height is limited by 35 feet in the RM zone.
And 35 feet is 3 stories?
I believe it can accommodate 3 stories.
But it won't be 4 or 5?
No.
Okay. So my second question is on the development agreement. And it says that the development agreement has a term of 10 years. So what happens if in 10 years, because at our last hearing, I believe the builder or one of the representatives said that it could take at least 10 years before these townhomes could be turned into condos. So what happens if 10 years comes around, they haven't been turned into condos because the market isn't there yet, and the development agreement expires? Will we extend the development agreement? Is there a way to do that, or does it just go away and then this agreement no longer will, they will no longer need to be turned into condos?
So the condo recording would happen within 60 days of the building being constructed. Can I get a little, yes?
Hi, Keith.
Good evening, Keith Niven, Planning Manager. It's going to depend on what the development agreement says. So right now, though, the draft development agreement that's in front of you, that's part of this package, does not obligate the builder to turn these into ownership. It gives them the right to choose that, but it does not obligate them. If the council felt like that was the deal breaker, that it had to be ownership, then that is something that you guys could decide to direct staff and the applicant to go back and see if they can negotiate that into the development agreement. And the answer could be yes, and the answer could be no. So that's something for the council to kind of opine on this evening on whether or not that is something they absolutely have to have in the development agreement. So to answer your question, the way it's written now, 10 years expires. The reason for putting that 10-year kind of term in is to make sure that what we've agreed to and what they've agreed to is actually executed within that 10 years. After that, once they've built the project, it becomes kind of a moot document, the way it's written now.
Okay, so if we wanted to make sure that these did eventually become condos, then could the development agreement be longer than 10 years? Or could it have where it starts again?
So development agreement, again, is a mutually agreed to contract. If the council felt like that was paramount, that had to be in the development agreement, then we would have to go back and try and renegotiate the terms with the applicant and see what they would be willing to agree to. If ultimately, my guess is, and I'm speculating, is that they wouldn't commit themselves to sell them 10 years from now, 20 years from now, because that's a financial uncertainty that probably they wouldn't be willing to kind of commit themselves to. But I don't want to speak for them. That would be my expectation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Walsh?
A couple of questions. One, this may be for Keith as well. I'm not sure. With the development agreement, suppose that we go ahead and pass this, and then say the economy falls apart and it's vacant for 10 years, and in the meantime we've had the zoning change.
Yeah, so I think, and I'll look to the city attorney if he wants to weigh in. I think what I heard last time we talked about this is, let's assume that we make this commitment for 10 years and nothing happens. I think the city could go back and rezone the property back to OP 10 years from now. That would be a change that we could initiate at that time if we felt like that was the right course of action.
That's correct. And the document does run with the property. So within that 10 period, even if this group couldn't develop it and another group wanted to develop it, they would be subject to this agreement.
Okay, all right. And my other question, perhaps for Natalie or Rick, one or the other. But thank you, Keith. Thank you, Ryan. With the traffic study, I think you probably stated this, but just for my clarification, about what percentage more traffic, especially on 328th? I think that's where the concern is with the adjacent residents about traffic. About what percentage increase in traffic would there likely be on 328th?
Yeah, so right now you've got about 150 vehicles an hour on 328th. This would add 63 is based on the current estimate. Of course, that could change as the development moves through the approval process. They may lose a few units, they may gain a few units. You never know for sure until we're done. But roughly, then it would be about, let's see, my math is getting fuzzy already, about 30% increase. So
So
that
fairly
sounds like a
substantial
lot,
increase.
but the fact of the matter is it's still using roughly 40% of the assumed capacity of that roadway.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Dovey?
Yeah, I just have a couple more questions that just popped up while we were having this discussion here. The value of the property definitely goes up. And the developer's taking the risk, which is great. I think that's a.
Can I clarify?
Yeah. When it's built, when it's built.
Council member. So right now, the value of the property, the 6 acres, the information that Ms. Kamenecki provided was related to property taxes. Her comment was property taxes with redevelopment will absolutely go up from where they are now, which is about $3.1 million to roughly $50 million. The value of the real estate right now, whether it's zoned OP or RM, is roughly the same. The comps in the city right now are running generally about the same. So just rezoning the property will not add value. It's the development of the property that will add the value.
I guess I understand that, but my question is this. We're talking about a 10-year development agreement, and we're talking about capital that these people are going to have to invest. You know, the city's going to get a return. You know, the neighbors may or may not all be happy. But if for some reason it doesn't go forward, by doing this, does this agreement, this development agreement, can they flip it to somebody else, or does it automatically go back to the original zoning, or do we have that control?
So as it's written right now, it would last for 10 years, and as you heard earlier, it runs with the property. So if Widener doesn't sell to Intercorp but sells to another builder, they would have to build consistent with whatever's in the development agreement. At the end of the term, the development agreement then goes away, and we talked about that a little bit earlier.
Okay, and, you know, 10 years is a long time. I understand that. But if it doesn't get built, or let's say it does get built and market conditions are such that they do not want to sell it, which, you know, they bought it, they own it, they built it, that's their prerogative, even though our agreement says that, you know, what really happens? If they decide in the 10th year, you know, the interest rates are 22%, we're not going to sell these things, we're going to keep renting them. What is really what happens? Probably nothing, right?
So if the parties could ask to amend the development agreement to extend the timeline, which could then open up any other negotiations related to the property, or if it reaches the term, then we can initiate basically a back zone, revert it back to what it is today. So that's a choice, or we could just leave it, and with the development agreement would then be expired because it would be past its term.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Deputy Mayor?
So if we were to vote to change it to multifamily, and the development agreement expires in 10 years with no development on the property, and it doesn't revert back to what the zoning is today, then someone could go in and build multifamily, like 5, 6 stories, whatever they
No, the height limit is still 3. But the other provisions, that it be townhouse, that they have garages, all those things now are not obligated. I'm not sure that's a word, but I'm going to go with it. So I think part of this is, if you guys do this, and there's not a provision in the development agreement, it's been a while since I've read it, so I'm not sure, that specifically says what happens when it reaches term, other than it sunsets, we would have to then be diligent and potentially have conversation with council, whoever is on council 10 years from now, if 10 years is the term, and say, what do you want to do with this? We haven't had anything happen. This development agreement's going to expire. It would mean anything that could be built under the RM zone could be built there. Do you want us to initiate a back zone back to OP? So we could have those conversations with the council 9.5 years from now if this is what happens.
Okay, thank you.
One more last question, sorry. Couldn't we put that in the development agreement now? That instead of waiting 10 years, I understand they have to get financing, they got to build it, they got to do these things, but wouldn't we be more diligent and maybe it's already there, I haven't read the whole agreement, but this is what can be built, nothing else can be built. If it doesn't get built,
it goes back to OP.
Yeah, we don't need the wrong kind of middle housing in the middle of one of our best kept secrets in Federal Way where people live.
Absolutely, that could be in the development agreement if the council felt like that was the right thing to include in the development agreement, and the property owner agreed that that was okay as well. So if the parties agreed, yes, that could be written in, that upon sunsetting of the development agreement, either the zoning would revert or it could go to something else. You guys could decide that.
So if that's the case, if that's what the council wanted to do, would that require rolling this public hearing to accommodate that? Or would we be able to move forward tonight?
Well, just to be clear, this is a development agreement that requires consent of both parties, not just the
Right.
city. So we would have to go back to the table and negotiate
Right, we'd have to
that
go
term.
back to the table. That would mean that we would essentially continue this hearing again.
Well,
or not.
if the direction is to go back and negotiate, I think we need to scrap. The current ordinance has this agreement in it.
Correct, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if that's what the council wants to
We
do.
need another public hearing.
Right, exactly. Okay, Councilmember Walsh?
The question was answered with that last,
Okay.
or my question was the same. So anyway, thank you.
Council President Coachman?
Well, I have no idea why we would go back to OP when it was spot zoned in the first place. It doesn't fit. The OP does not fit on that site, correct?
Yes, it's standing out at the moment a little bit like a sore thumb.
So why would we even want to entertain that idea even 10 years from now? Because it wouldn't fit 10 years from now when it doesn't fit now.
Okay.
So it doesn't make sense to even bring that up.
Well,
Councilmember Dovey?
I think what makes sense is that we don't wake up one day. We have a great developer here that's got great intentions. They showed us things. I'm going to assume that they know what they're doing. They build good product. If something happens and we zone this differently, we could end up with something other than townhouses that is middle housing that we all want, that we need, and end up with another project that we never planned on. And I just think it needs to be tighter. It's good for us, it's good for the developer, and then they can move forward. But I'm walking away that it's not, in my opinion, I'm not the guy in your chair, but you can't tell me it's exactly airtight that this is what we're gonna get built if something changes.
All right.
Okay, that's all I have to say.
Council President, did you have something?
But he just said that it won't go above 3 stories, so I don't know how you're going to get much different than what they're already proposing. But I don't mean to be argumentative.
I'm not taking you as argumentative at all. I'm not taking it argumentative at all.
Councilmember Norton, then Councilmember Walsh.
Councilmember Dovey, so when you say tighter, do you mean tighter as in the amount of years that they have to get it done? Because
No.
it seems like 10 years is a long time.
10 years is a long time.
It's
I'm not
very
saying-
long.
Yeah, if we approve it, I mean, you all may approve it, and I may be the only guy that votes against it. That's the way the council works. But I just want to have assurance that what gets built there is townhouses for middle income, the middle housing we're talking about, and I don't want another Park 16, okay? That's what I don't want to see on that street. And if that's not in the development agreement, by making this zoning change, we potentially open that zone up to be something other than what this reputable group is bringing to us. That's my concern.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Walsh?
Yeah, right along with that. I mean, I think it may be wise to see if we can have something where it would revert to OP, not for the sake of it, basically to help prevent some low-income housing going in there because it's multifamily at that point in 10 years. That would be my only reasoning for wanting it to revert and not to necessarily stay multifamily zoning unless at that time the council specifically wanted it to.
Okay, you should think about if the one factor would be if the other side doesn't want to agree to this, or is this the poison pill?
And Mayor, if I want to elaborate one thing before council votes on this, and that is, there's opportunity costs for a developer for delaying rezoning. So I'm not sure where they are on financing or how fast they want to build this project, but, it can fall apart for multiple reasons, not just rejecting this term, but we've taken too long to do this. And I don't know if that's the case, but that's something we need to have in our mind before we delay.
All right. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. So the development agreement as it stands today, there'll be townhouses with garages. Within 60 days of the certificate of occupancy, the owner shall execute and record a map to create a residential condominium community that allows each individual townhouse to be sold as a condominium. However, the property may operate as for rent apartment community at the sole discretion of the owner. So that means that even though it might be recorded as a residential condominium community, it could still be rented for.
The reason for us suggesting the condominium map as part of the DA and part of this is that there will be no barriers for them to actually turn it into a condominium project because they'll already have the condominium map recorded. So basically, there are no barriers for it becoming a condominium other than financially it doesn't work for them. And so for 10 years, what we've set up is market rate townhouses with garages, with private open space areas for each unit. And so it will look and feel like, I think, a fairly high-quality residential project. Now, what happens if they don't build in 10 years? Then there's carrying costs that are part of that equation, and so what happens? Do you put it back to OP? That's for you guys to talk through. I have an opinion on that. I'm not sure that's relevant, but, I think that you guys need to feel like, is this a pretty good proposal that's worth carrying through, or is it not quite good enough? I think that's the question that you guys should be kind of balancing through.
I have another question. So zoning is one of the most important things that we do. And I appreciate the discussion because it means we're thinking about this and we want to make sure that we get it right. So if we were to vote on this and say yes, and how long would it be before the first occupant could possibly move in? If they have 10 years on this agreement, is it going to take 4 or 5 years to build this so that they would only then have 5 years to get these into condos if that's what we so desired?
So we've been having a lot of conversations with builders lately, and I think generally speaking, most of them would tell you the permit process takes about a year. And then, depending on the time of year, most developers don't start, turning dirt in December or January or February, right? They wait till the spring or summer. And so depending on how that works, it's generally a year to permit, and, this project would probably be, they might build it in terms of how quickly they think they could lease it up, but my guess is like a year and a half. So between those two, like 2.5 years to maybe a max of 3 for it to be ready to occupy. So there would be, if they started permitting as soon as council approved this or shortly thereafter, that could leave 7 years left after it was opened, so to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. For the record, my name is Ian Morrison. I'm a land use attorney with McCullough Hillary, here on behalf of the applicant, and really appreciate the council's deliberation and this discussion. I just wanted to make 2 points, just reiterate and try to clarify. On terms of the question of sort of what happens with this over the long term, the development agreement, if approved, is a contract, a legally binding contract between the applicant and the property owner and any successor to the property owner. That would mean legally that we would have to build precisely the townhome project with the commitments, including the condo map, at the beginning of the process, and no party could change that without the consent of the city council. And if a developer ever tried to change that under the contract, and the city attorney can verify for yourself, I'm not your attorney, you could take us to court and say you are not upholding the commitments made in this development agreement. And so for that, I want to just be crystal clear. I hear the concern about Park 6. I think the way that this has been drafted ably by your staff, negotiated between the two parties, would provide for a commitment that you are going to get the product that you heard under the terms of the development agreement. The piece that I do want to reiterate to you, and we heard a little bit of this that I wanted to raise a concern on, is time is of an issue here. The carrying costs, those that are in the development industry know that with each of these meetings, it takes more time, and it makes it more challenging for this project to be financed. You see what's going on with the interest rates right now. And so we heard a concern from council members about what happens at the end of this 10-year process. Respectfully, and I defer to the city attorney, I think that it is the contract of this DA would give you the assurances for that 10-year term. If the council in your policy position wanted to say at the end of that contract, revert it back to 10 years, that would mean this project had failed for 10 years, the economy was not ideal. That is, I would say as a land use attorney, it's difficult to bind future councils. In the interest of speed, and only in the interest of speed, because I tend to agree with Council President that it may not be the right zoning for the site regardless, the applicant would be willing to negotiate a term with the city attorney and staff about that reversion clause if that's the issue. However, we would really encourage that that is only an issue if we can bring this forward to a consideration and a potential vote on the 4th. Because again, we have been working quite a long time with staff, with the Planning Commission, and we are looking to try to bring this to a resolution for clarity. Happy to answer any questions, but I appreciate your time.
I think Councilmember Sefadossin wants to.
I've had my
microphone
microphone on for like a long time.
All right, Councilmember.
So, and you're the perfect guy up here for me. And thank you for reiterating that information. And I'm all for this project. I think that we need something like this in our city. And that was my greatest concern, is that we do not have another low-income project in our city. We have more per capita than any other city in South King County. I think we have enough. So what you're saying, I just want to make sure I understood you correctly, is that according to this agreement, this will not be a low-income project under any circumstances.
Correct.
Okay.
For the applicant, and I will speak as the land use attorney for the applicant. I'd encourage the city attorney to answer that question as well.
Okay, thank you. And I think it looks beautiful, and, I really want this to go forward and proceed, because we need better housing here in our city. So thank you, I appreciate it.
All right. Councilmember Sefadossin?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for this conversation. The conference I'm at is the Prosperity Summit, and one of the workshops that I attended actually was called Advocating for Policies that Promote Equity to Housing. And that workshop, they stated that 47 states face a housing underproduction. And so the Seattle, Bellevue, Tacoma metropolitan area ranked 12th. Metropolitan areas out of 169 as being, they rank, we rank, I should say we, for being underproduction, for having underproduction of housing, which means that as prices go up just for months, so having this development is really great and I appreciate it. But I keep hearing concern about renters. And I was a renter for a very long time until I managed to purchase my house only 5 years ago. It hasn't even been 5 years. And so every time we talk about renters, it seems like we are against it. And so I really want to caution us because I don't know what things are going to be 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now for the next generation and generations to come. And so home ownership may not be ideal for a lot of our youth, our young people who, no matter what their income is, they may not be in position to purchase just because there may not be enough for purchase. So I think that developers can determine for how long. I'm not talking about the 10-year, but I'm also talking about if it ends up being rental for a while, as long as it meets the requirement that we set and serves the population that we're talking about. I think that's what we need to focus, and whether it's renters or owners, I think that should be up to the economy and up to what people can afford. Because like I said, as a renter, I needed that. I needed that help. I would not have been able to be where I'm at today if I didn't have that opportunity to rent and then, work on purchasing. So purchasing is not for everyone. So I would hate for this council to be against renters and renting, as long as the quality of the development and everything, the integrity is maintained. I don't know why it's an issue whether it's rented and or ownership. And so I think we should really be thoughtful about our residents and who we serve. So that's my comment. But thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Councilor Adobe?
I just have one last comment, and Lydia, I appreciate what you said about renters. I believe that we need good rental places in Federal Way that people are proud of. I heard the gentleman say that, time is of the essence, and October 4th was kind of the drop-dead date for us to make a decision. Am I correct on that?
We would encourage the council's consideration as soon as possible.
Okay. So, again, I would like to make sure that we are getting the type of housing stock that we want in Federal Way. I would also encourage, if we move forward on this, that we look at how do we fast track it if we get a development agreement so they can actually cut off time on that planning of a year, because that's way too long and costs too much money. But again, my big concern is not the project or the spot so much, but more what the development agreement says is what actually ends up there. And I'll end there.
Do you have a motion?
Well, I'm just one of 7. I don't know what everybody else thinks, but my motion would be to move this to the 4th for final vote, get these, I had more to questions. If the questions are answered, I could be in line with it, but that's just my motion. I don't know if anybody else is there.
Well, as the chair of LUTC, we defer to you in regard to the motion. So there's been a motion to continue this to the 4th?
Second.
Mayor, before we do that, we need to clarify the motion. You said for final vote. What did you mean by that?
Excuse me. The second reading, can we move it to?
Well, tonight's on first.
Whatever the process is to go on October 4th to vote to move it forward.
Right.
Yeah, up or down.
Yeah, that'd be first reading. So thank you very much for clarifying. So, okay, there's been a motion, there's been a second. Is there any discussion? Deputy Mayor?
If October 4th is important to the developer, could we do the first and second reading on that day?
So just, let's back up a little bit as far as process goes. We still have an open public hearing, so are we done taking public comment and having a public hearing?
Well,
I move to close the public hearing.
well, actually, we have a pending motion before the council. We're in discussion. on
I'll
pending-
I'll pull my motion, so.
All right.
the-
Councilmember Norton, would you agree to withdraw your second?
Yes.
All right. So, Councilmember Dewey? Or actually, Council President?
I move that we close public hearing.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
It's been a motion and a second to close public hearing. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is closed. All right, now, as to first reading. That's actually what we've got at the, under ordinances, under item 10.
So, Mayor, this item is currently on for first reading. So if the intent is to postpone first reading, we can make a motion now to postpone first reading to October 4th. If the intent is to continue and do second reading, then we would handle that under ordinances.
We could what?
We would handle it as written in the sheet, under ordinances.
So we could pass it on first reading, and then at second reading, make the final changes?
Correct.
That's a good idea.
Council? And then that would be final.
And what changes? So that we need to discuss that.
Personally, I want to hear about the development agreement and make sure that what we are told is what we're going to get, and it's not going to change. I mean, maybe.
Well, that's what would
already-
happen at second reading.
Well,
Yeah.
and so just to reiterate what Mr. Morris said, it's a binding contract, so we're not going to get any language that's more clear as to what is required. They are required by the contract to build the items described, which are the market rate condominiums with the parking garages and all of the stuff that's in the agreement. So that's an enforceable agreement for 10 years. Is council looking for something more than that?
Again, I may be the only one, but what I'm looking for, it's not going to change back to OP or whatever it is in 10 years. That's not going to happen if they start building it or what goes on. I just want to make sure, and maybe you already got it in there, and maybe I'm not reading it, or somebody needs to yellow it in a piece of paper for me, that we're going to get condos, market rent with garages, and we're not going to get things that the commute, why we became a city a long time ago when we had lots of apartments come down here. That's all I'm saying.
My suggestion is to do first reading on the 4th, to make sure that we dot our i's, cross our t's, make sure everybody's on the same page. Councilmember Kuchmer?
I think we're clear, and I think that if Councilmember Dovey has any questions, he certainly talk to our attorney
Yeah.
in the
All right.
meantime, and so that you have more questions, and that would be appropriate for second reading, for more questions.
Okay, all right. Okay, so, we have voted to close the public hearing, with regard to, item, 8A. And would it be appropriate if we expedite the hour is getting late, it's 10, actually, is it?
It's 9.
Oh,
9:03.
Sorry.
It is late, you're right.
So, would it
No,
be,
it's not.
actually, we're gonna take a recess for 10 minutes.
Oh, man.
We're gonna take a recess. 10 minutes, everybody put your, I wanna take a break. just need Linda, our council president. Oh, okay. You're gonna get me in trouble. Just waiting for one other person. Will just be a second.
Yes, no, I'm just, it hurts to sit. Besides, I'm as tall as the mayor is when I'm standing next to him.
Exactly. That's-
So where is Bruce going? Is he on business or something? Somebody was telling me that they were in line at the airport and.
Well, technically, council, if, yes. Okay, so item 8A, once we move to close the public hearing, and the public hearing was item 8A, is completed. So what I would suggest is we take the ordinance 10A out of order, and I can do the budget after we have, the folks we have here are interested in item 10, ordinance. Is that, I don't think I need a motion to do that, to accomplish that, right?
Or just, are there any objections?
Are there any objections to that? Okay, let's go ahead and do that. And I don't believe, are there any other public comment? Is there any other public comment, Stephanie, that we've received?
No,
Or that
Mayor.
people have signed up for that?
Nope.
Okay, and we've already had the staff report. Would it be, I don't think it's necessary to do that.
I do need to read it.
Okay, please, would the city clerk please read the
Is
ordinance?
there been a motion?
No.
I mean, don't we need that? We have to read the ordinance first.
Don't we, what's that? Yeah, the ordinance has to be read first.
Council Bill 828, Ordinance 2021 Comp Plan Amendment and Development Agreement for the former Bally's property. An ordinance of the City of Federal Way, Washington, amending the Federal Way Comprehensive Plan Map, and Zoning Map, changing the Comprehensive Plan designation and zoning of 6.00 acres located at the southeast corner of First Avenue South and South 328th Street, parcel number 172-104-9038, from Office Park OP to multifamily RM 1800, and adopting an associated development agreement.
Okay, and Councilmember W., do you have a motion with respect to first reading?
Yeah, I'll move the ordinance to second reading on October 4th.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second that.
There's been a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Now, obviously, between now and then, just to clarify, make sure everybody's clear, between now and then, is the direction from the council, is there consensus, to go back out and negotiate on these issues? Is that what's understood, or not? I don't believe so. No? Okay, so I want to make sure, okay, so right now, the motion is to move it as is to second reading on October 4th. All right, is there any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you very much. Okay, all right, now, all right, well, thank you, everybody, for being here. I very much appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, now I get to give my budget presentation. To an empty hall. I'd almost, in Congress, where the people oftentimes give these great orations to an empty audience, so I'll keep my oration to a minimum. All right, so this is we had a study session earlier tonight, and some of the fine points were addressed, or were the conditions and some of the issues were set forth with Steve Groom. Steve, thank you so much for what a great job you're doing. So this is these are just some highlights with regard to my proposed 2023 to 2024 biennial budget, and it's required by me by law to have a first draft of this, and it kind of starts the process.
There's a switch on the side, maybe?
Okay. Oh, there it goes. Green. There we go. Okay, the theme is Federal Way is emerging strongly from the effects of the pandemic. City revenues are able to fund more than we might have hoped, and there's always more needs than there is money, so we have to prioritize prudently, and the council has done that successfully many years. My priorities, as I'm sure you share them, safety and security of residents and businesses. Number 2, achieve a balanced budget of all funds. Number 3, assure prioritization of city services. Number 4, strengthen the city's fiscal health. And number 5, maintain city infrastructure. All right, how did we balance the budget that I'm proposing that we are proposing to you? Revenues are up. We're very fortunate. Sales tax due to a strong economy with which infrastructure and services actively support. Investments of city reserves due to active city management. And let me just highlight this for a second. Over the course of the biennium, the 2 years, we are expecting an increase of $1.8 million total, $900,000 per year, because we have reinvested money that was literally sitting in the bank, and we have utilized through wise investment strategies the amount of money necessary to pay for the 15 new officers. So kudos to Steve and also to the council to allow us to be able to proceed with that. It's very exciting. Okay. All departments collaborated to prioritize highest city needs, citywide needs, and there have been ongoing conversations. Brian, I want to thank you for all your help and your coordination with everybody, and it has been, it always is tough to really nail down the priorities and make difficult decisions, and we're going to start that process as we move forward. Comprehensive needs assessments resulted in a waiting list to serve us into the future. There are certain things that did not get funded, and we'll make sure that we, inform the council of what those are as we move forward. Okay, public safety. Safety and security of residents and businesses. It's our absolute top priority. We added the 15 additional police officers, additional police support staff, and additional police vehicle funding for those new officers, and the additional technology that goes along with it. Transparency, increased funding for responding to public information requests. Stephanie and her team do an absolutely fantastic job, but those have really increased over time, and it's really important that we be able to do that. Right now, there's been an impact in regard to public records request that we're putting onto other departments, and this would add one public record position that will help many of those impacted departments. Increased volume has required additional staff time, obviously. Okay, winter operations. You see the snowplows there, and I'm really proud. I think we're all really proud of the work that's done on behalf of our crews. When the weather gets bad and it gets cold, our crews are out there in 12-hour shifts, and we really depend on them. We've added staffing, trucks, and material, and so in this proposed budget. So that's obviously very critical. And we're sort of expanding and getting more into the neighborhoods as well, which I think meets community expectations. Oh, hold on. Oh, one sec. One sec. Okay, there we go. Keep turning off the thing. Okay, parks infrastructure. It's a beautiful picture of Town Square Park, and we've got a commitment to perpetual replacement of infrastructure. We have 20 parks. And we replace one playground equipment per year at those parks, and that keeps, but that's on a 20-year cycle. So it is, something that we've got to, we've got to be thinking about this in a lot of things in regard to our cars, our buildings, the roof of this building, which we'll get into later, the steel like dock. There are other things that we'll need to make sure that we are investing in. Obviously, inflation is hitting a lot of different parts of our economy, where we have absorbed those inflationary impacts, insurance premiums, self-insurance reserve, cost of jail services, which have gone up now as a result of essentially COVID restrictions lessening, cost of 911 communications, and the Lake Haven fire hydrant maintenance, and staff COLA, which is absolutely critical to make sure that we keep and maintain our employees. And I think we've tagged COLA at 3.5, is that right? Very good. For each of the 2 years. Very good. You okay? Okay, continuing challenges. Now, chronic budget squeeze created by 1% property tax cap on existing property. That's just something that we know we have to deal with. Number 2, perpetual vehicle replacement under inflationary conditions is even harder, but it has to happen. Number 3, perpetual infrastructure repair and maintenance is a permanent liability, or just, it's an obligation. And so we need to do that, whether it's the roads, whether it's the roof of this building, just certain things. Things age, and we want to make sure that it does not come out of our operating budget per se, that it comes out, that we planned ahead for this. Number 4, unknown recessionary and inflationary factors must be prudently built in to make sure that we are planning for success. Okay, conclusion, next steps. We've got a balanced proposed budget across all the funds. We deliver, the idea is, and the plan is, to deliver top priority services and implement a plan for next dollar needs. Study sessions are scheduled, and we've got those. We've got those set up in the coming weeks. Study sessions, will really enable us to really roll up our sleeves and get into some of these. And city council input, deliberation, and adoption is a necessity. Let's see here. Okay, study sessions. Obviously, we had one today at 5 p.m. Then next Monday, the 26th at 5 p.m. Then the next Thursday, the 29th at 5 p.m., October 4th at 5 p.m., October 18th at 5 p.m. And that is my, essentially the highlights. Deputy Mayor Honda?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm glad to see some of those additional positions that we've talked about for a few years. I was surprised I didn't see the maintenance yard in there.
Maintenance yard?
I didn't put it in the slides. It's in the budget.
Okay.
Both the funding, the debt service, the construction, it's in the capital plan, and we'll cover that at the third study session.
And my one dream, just when you brought up parks and maintaining the parks, is to build a new park and make it inclusive for all people. And if we just got land, maybe we could work with others to help them. So,
Okay. All right, thank you. Also, I wanted to let you know, I spoke with a representative of the Historical Society yesterday, our friend Joe Knutson, and he had been talking about getting increased funding. We've had a contract with the Historical Society for a number of years at $20,000. They really need assistance, and I committed that in my proposed budget, I want to make sure I highlight that, because I talked to Steve a little bit earlier today and yesterday, and I was talking to Brian about it as well. We need to make sure that organization, which is so critical, in my opinion, to making sure that we are remembering our past while planning for our future. I'm going to be proposing a $50,000 budget item to help them with an executive director staffing to make sure that they're a viable organization. So that's something for you to consider. It'll be part of the budget, and I want to make sure that I highlight that, because there's all kinds of things going on with regard to maintenance. We were actually discussing the Brook Lake building and our plans for that and grant funding for that. So there's all kinds of great discussions that we're going to have through this budget process about the priorities that we have, and our partners at the Historical Society are critical with that. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. Are there any things that you're going to remove from the budget that we currently have?
I don't think that we've got anything
Okay.
that I don't think that we've removed anything per se. I mean, what'll be in here obviously is our contractual relationship with the Chamber of Commerce. So the question, it's a big budget, and I hear the question, which is, there's a lot in the budget, is there anything that we're taking out that isn't made necessarily obvious? Not that I'm aware of, but if that becomes apparent.
If you remember.
Yeah, exactly, right. Well, nothing that immediately comes to mind. Brian, can you think of anything that we've?
The only thing that comes to mind is just it's more of an accounting reduction, but it's not like a service reduction, and that's in the community development block grant. But that's because we're on a different cycle than the federal government, so it'll come across as a reduction when in reality it's there's no drop in service.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah, we wouldn't cut anything without letting council know that we cut an existing, program, so.
Thank you.
But it is a big budget, right? It's north of 100 million, so.
I'm
Right.
surprised to see some of those staff positions, but I'm glad to see them.
Yeah, we really, when I put this together and we were talking about this, it's something that especially with the, Public Works and the parks and we need to make sure that we are adequately staffed. It's critical. But it's also, I think it's very much important to make sure that we keep up with the COLA. We went 6 years, maybe even, I think about 6 years without a COLA in the city, and that really put us in a disadvantaged viewpoint. And I think just like, one of the things I always say to the staff is, it's not the roads and the infrastructure that are our most important asset. It's the people that show up to work here every day and serve as our ambassadors, whether it's somebody at Parks, Public Works, Police, and we want to make sure that we're, investing in that human capital. So I think that's really important. Councilmember Walsh.
Yeah. Does the city have a volunteer coordinator? I mean, volunteers are so important to the city, and it wouldn't need to be a full-time position, but is there anybody in the city that is tasked with being a volunteer coordinator?
That's a good question. I think that position used to be out of Parks, and John, can you talk to that?
It wasn't housed in Parks, it was actually housed in the Community Development Division.
Okay.
And it was way back when it was cut pre-2007, 2008. And it was helpful, but it just kind of landed on, sure, they'd talk to volunteers and send them to the departments, but the problem is the departments didn't have the staff to really manage it, so it became problematic. Not problematic, but it wasn't as helpful as it seems it would be on paper, because they were just herding volunteers toward you, but managing volunteers takes people and organization and time.
Something to consider. We could discuss it. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Seffa Dawson. Councilmember Seffa Dawson. Oh, is her screen frozen?
Yeah, actually, that.
There you are.
Volunteer, was under Human Services. Can you hear me?
Yes, but now we can. Yeah.
No?
Yes, we can.
No?
Yes,
Can you
we
hear me
can.
now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? No?
Yes, Lydia, can you hear us?
Okay.
I think your
We had-
bandwidth,
Oh, great,
your
okay.
bandwidth
Well,
is low.
actually- So actually under the department that I was in. Yeah.
Okay, thank
No?
you.
You still can't hear me?
Yes, we can.
Should I keep talking?
Sure. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so, no, I was saying volunteer coordinator was under Human Services, because that's when I was working here at Better Way. And one benefit of having that position was to have the annual appreciation for volunteers, and I think it would be great to have, because our volunteers are all the commissioners that we have and all the other events that we probably have volunteers. So I think it would be something to consider. But council have had this conversation where it'd be great for us to have a policy analyst or something like that. So I would like to push for that as well when we're talking about staffing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I would say Bill sort of does serve as a policy analyst in certain way and is very involved in a lot of policy. I would also note that with this proposed budget spends down, I think there's very little wiggle room. So I would ask you to think about if you're going to add new positions, you'll have to cut something from the proposed budget. So, because it's going to be, so I want to just make sure that that's, that you consider that. Because we don't really have a lot of extra to work with. Councilmember Dovey?
Yeah, just one comment. I appreciate the budget we've gotten and all the work that's been done. The one thing that concerns me, and I know we'll have lots of discussions about it, is vehicle replacement and infrastructure replacement. I saw that on page 27 the things that we're going to do, and on the top page of number 27 is the things that we should do, and vehicle and replacement was there. And I know we've had discussions on the ARPA money and different things where we bought things. So I know you're going to bring that up, and I know it's going to be a discussion we'll all have, but that's the only thing that is sticking in my mind that I hope we can figure out how to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's you really are required to replace cars after a certain time. I think we increased it from 5 years to 7 years on the replacements, and what we do is we move some of those cars to, instead of that daily use with the police department, I'm thinking primarily of police. But we've got some cars or some vehicles, and at least we had in Parks and Public Works that are pretty, getting pretty old. And so, there's been an extension of those lives. But I think you're absolutely right. We need to make sure that we invest in that infrastructure. All right, any other questions? All right, well, thank you, everybody. I look forward to our ongoing discussions and work on the budget. All right, Youth Commission requirements, council discussion led by Deputy Mayor Honda.
So last meeting, I brought up the request to change the ordinance for the Youth Commission to allow commissioners to be a member of the commission if they live outside the city but attend a Federal Way high school. And that we change from sophomores and juniors to at least sophomores through 12th grade, or we could even go 9 through 12, whatever council would like. So if council is in agreement with that, we could ask the staff to prepare an ordinance.
I think it's a great idea.
9th through 12th or 10th through 12th?
I'd go down to 9th grade if it was me personally, because I can't hurt, but I think your idea is brilliant.
Okay.
If we have a multitude of applicants, we can give preference towards the 10th graders rather than 9th graders, but I'd say go down to 9th as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Susan.
Are we also including private schools?
Yes, if they live in the city of, if they live outside, if they attend school outside of Federal Way, but they, yes. Yeah.
Wait, no, if they live outside but go to school in Federal Way, correct?
Right.
Yes. Not the other way around?
Right. It's late, Lydia.
Okay.
Probably later where you are.
Oh, it's
No, I think
way
it's if they
later,
live
yeah.
in Federal Way, but they attend school outside Federal Way.
Is
We
that what
include
you're
them as well.
asking? Is that what you're
No,
asking?
no. I was making sure that we also include private schools.
The private schools
And
inside
Federal.
the city of Federal Way.
It
Correct.
seems to me as though if they attend school in any of the Federal Way schools or a public or a private school within Federal Way, or if they live in Federal Way, even if they attend school outside of Federal Way.
Yes, both.
Correct.
Yeah.
Both.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
Make
Okay,
it as broad as possible.
so, Ryan, you got that? Okay, very good.
So do we need a motion?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I move to direct staff to prepare an ordinance to amend city code to alter youth commission eligibility requirements as discussed today.
Second?
It's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Matter passes unanimously. Okay. Executives, excuse me, council reports. Let's start with Councilmember Dovey.
I guess the only report I have is earlier on in public comment, we had a discussion back and forth about this, I'll just making a point, this shopping cart issue. And I guess I would urge, and I guess we gave direction to the staff to work on the document that Councilmember Walsh worked on, so we can actually have something we can vote on in next meeting or the meeting after. Is that correct? I just want
Yes.
clarification.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Do we need a motion to do that, or we just? No, okay.
I will, I've gotten direction from the council, we'll move
Perfect.
forward.
Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, thank you. Well, I work for you guys. Councilmember Walsh.
I was just going to reiterate what the other Jack just said, and we need to move that forward with the shopping carts and get an actual ordinance
Okay.
for the council to vote on.
I'll have, Ryan will reach out to you tomorrow.
Okay, all right, very well.
All right, thank you. Councilor Tran?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's good to be back. I was out for 3 weeks, visiting different country in Asia. I just want to say thank you to the mayor, to council for accommodating my travel schedule. Just a little side note, while I was on vacation, I hung out with some top executive, and I was trying to sell them the idea of buying the naming rights of our pack. So it's a long shot, but we're working at it.
All right.
I'll talk to you more about it.
Very good, that sounds good. All right, thank you very much.
thank
Councilmember
you.
Norton?
So when I was elected, there were quite a few people who made it known to me that they did not vote for me and they didn't like me. And so, you know what I did? I decided I was going to get to know those people better. And it's been an amazing journey. I like to say I've developed some relationships with people that I never thought I'd have relationships with, and it's been wonderful. One of those people is Evan Cook. He has, I started a community meeting outside of this because I wanted to bring people together who were from, you know, kind of like opposing factions in our city so that they could get together and talk and work toward common goals. And it's small right now, and I wanted to let it go and allow the community to take it over. So Evan Cook has taken it over, and holy moly, his ideas, what he's been doing the last couple months have just been amazing. So they're called community safety meetings. They're the first Thursday of the month. I couldn't be more proud. Evan is actually contracting with Multi-Service Center. There are police officers and school resource officers that attend. And then there's people like from Stand Up Federal Way who attend. There's people from the Black Collective who attend. And I'm there. I'm usually there. And it's the first Thursday of every month. It's at the Pyramid Masonic Lodge. And it starts from 6 and it goes to 7:30. And it is a really good meeting. He is doing amazingly. And I just wanted to thank Evan publicly for taking this on. It's quite a responsibility, and it's been amazing to watch. I'm really proud of what he's doing. So if you'd like to be a part of something which is getting all the community together, it doesn't matter what color you are, be a bridge. You know, this is supposed to be a place where everybody can be, no matter what letter is next to your name or how you vote. This is for everyone in the community to come and have our safety in mind and to be of one body. So I'm inviting everybody to come to those meetings. Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, is Councilmember Seppa Dawson still on?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right, Councilmember
Can
Seppa
you hear
Dawson.
me?
Yes,
Okay, I turned my camera off, maybe that's why.
Okay,
I
yeah.
was having issues earlier, but, so I, to just support what Councilmember, Norton was saying, I have attended a few of those meetings, and I think they're beneficial and helpful, and the topics discussed are, something that the residents here in Norton for launching that and for supporting it and for making it happen. And I did have something else, but I forgot. Anyways, it's 12:40 a.m. now here, so maybe that's why I forgot what I was gonna say, so I will see you when I get back, but thank you so much for the accommodation for me to participate here remotely. I'm really grateful that as we do, you know, those of us who especially have daytime jobs and who get to travel, it's really been a really amazing way to continue to engage in our council meetings. So just wanted to say thank you for making that still a possibility and a viable way of staying relevant and staying here at these meetings. So with that, I'll say goodnight. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Councilmember. All right, Deputy Mayor Honda.
Thank you. And so I also attended the library, the Maker Space at First Avenue Library. Bellevue Library has this and we have it, so I think that's pretty cool that we have it. The kids that were in there were so excited, and I learned a few things too. So, you know, if you're interested, you can go online, see what they offer. You can go in and see what they offer. It's amazing. And I know the school district is going to be partnering with the library to get their students over there. Congratulations to the Korean quarterly meetings, 30 years. We had a big celebration in this room, and that was pretty awesome for 30 years of those meetings. On 9/11, Sunday 9/11, Representative Adam Smith held a town hall meeting here in our chambers, and it was pretty full from people. Most people that got up and spoke were not necessarily here from Federal Way, but from around the area. And that was on 9/11. I then went to the 9/11 ceremony, and Police Chief Andy Wong had a great speech. Thank you very much. It was a very good speech. And the main speaker was a gentleman who had just moved his family from Bainbridge Island to New Jersey, and he was on the 51st floor of the first tower, and he managed to get out. And at some point has moved back, so he's living here. His story was very interesting, and it must have been just a horrible experience for him to go through. But I was hoping to see more students there, well, any students there, because it's a Sunday, and, you know, 9/11, the kids weren't born then. So all they know about is what we've told them about and what they see on TV or wherever. And I was just hoping that we would have had more students there. So, but anyway, it was a great ceremony. It is always held on 9/11, and it's always at the fire department. And so put it on your calendar and come next year, rain or shine. Saturday is the Federal Way Taste. Tickets are $20, 11:30 to 2 at the Federal Way Farmers Market. Please come. Thank you.
Very good. Council President Kochmar.
No report.
All right. Thank you, council. Great job tonight. We are adjourned.
Good night.